next week.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
a week from today.
A week from today.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she'll have stuff on inflammation and you know.
Tissue repair,
Yes.
cell injury,
Right.
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And oral path helps you understand a little bit, but you need to understand that to understand
oral
oral
path.
path also.
Mm-hmm. True.
So you have any questions about?
I have a question. So I can't figure it out or distinguish between oral melanotic macule and accurate melanocytic
Nevus.
nevus.
Mm-hmm.
I can't figure it out which one is which.
Oral melanotic macule. Wait, hope.
It's on a lip or gingiva, but the other one is on a gingiva too.
You know, often the oral melanotic macule is often on the lip
Yes, or gingiva.
or the gingiva.
Okay.
And the nevus, okay,
Okay.
they're rare in the mouth.
Oh.
Common on the skin, you know, that's a, okay, nevuses. So nevuses are often in the palate. And so is often another thing that's in the palate is a melanoma is often in the palate.
Mm-hmm.
So so you know, you really can't tell the difference, but usually oral melanotic macules are on the lip or the
Okay,
edge of your
okay.
and more common in females than males.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you look at those slides that I showed you last week?
Yes.
You all got to look at those?
Yeah.
No, I didn't
Why
have
not?
time. Because
Oh.
I had to study.
Oh.
Didn't have time to go over the
Well, did he
PowerPoint.
share them or you wouldn't
Yeah,
share them with
he
me?
shared them.
Yeah,
Yes,
he
he
did.
did
He
last
All right, I
night.
was going to
Yeah.
kick his butt.
No.
Yeah.
I had patient till 7 o'clock at Ontario, so I went home and then just started studying.
All right.
Oh wow.
So remember now, you guys aren't to share those, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I have your honor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No sharing.
Because I
No.
was talking to somebody in hygiene, said, oh yeah, we gave somebody in hygiene not to share it. They promised, and everybody in hygiene now has it.
No.
No.
No, no one has it.
All right.
No one has. They don't need it. They're done.
Yeah.
And when we're done, you're going to get rid of it, right?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna burn it.
I don't
We're gonna,
have anyone.
You're gonna have a
celebrate.
campfire?
When I'm done with
Yes.
this program, I delete all my stuff regarding this school.
Yeah.
That was 2 years.
So that was on what? Was that on epithelial? That I
Yeah.
gave you?
And pigmented lesions.
And pigmented.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So ask me, okay, that was a good question that you asked. What else did you want to ask me?
What's the other pigmentation? I think it's called smoker's melanosis.
Smoker's melanosis, due to people that smoke, what it does, it just stimulates the melanocytes. It's like a sunburn in a
Yeah.
way, right? I mean, like getting a tan,
Yeah.
right? But after a while, when you quit smoking, it goes away.
Okay.
So it's kind of a, it's not like an oral melanic macule. It is kind of like the buccal mucosa.
like all
get-
over kind
yeah.
of thing.
Could,
in the
you could
buccal.
get it in the palate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I did contact that guy who lectured to you.
Oh, we did.
Did he show you examples of jewels and things like that in his
I
lecture?
think so.
What do you mean you think so? You were there.
Yeah, but I forgot. I don't keep everything here. And I'm gonna get Alzheimer, I know that. Because I forget everything. I
Did
think
you-
he did.
I mean, I think so. Yeah.
But he hasn't called me back, but anyway.
Oh, okay.
I'm eating. These were in the hygiene office.
Miss Barbara has that stuff all the time.
I think Shelley Hayden brought him or made him or hers.
Oh yeah, she makes good desserts.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Miss Hayden?
Mhm.
Yeah, she's so good.
Yeah.
She brought something with peach last time.
Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
was so yummy.
Yeah.
They call it a scone? Like
Scone?
Yeah, a scone.
A scone, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was the first time that I had a scone.
So Joe dressed
really?
up for Halloween. Go to Halloween last night.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah, you want to see it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Heidi, yes. Heidi
Well,
did
I
it.
just did it because for the $4 Chipotle burritos.
Oh, I know. Yeah, yeah. I heard they were doing
I
that.
just did it for that
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
And it was quick.
For
And it
the
was
free food.
You got a $4 burrito?
yeah.
Free if they.
Free?
Yes, if they did something for Halloween.
And we like dressed up. So this is me and my roommate.
Oh.
Oh,
We gave each other black eyes.
Oh, really?
Nora?
So we were like
Huh.
zombie doctors.
Oh,
We just used
nice.
our white coats.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know, it's kind of creepy. I did it for the $4 burrito.
Yeah, yeah. That's worth it.
Instead of paying $8,
Mhm.
$4.
Mhm.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when it's red or it's white, so I cannot figure it out from the picture which one is inside too, which one is squamous cell carcinoma. I can't figure it out.
You can't, when
No.
something's white?
No, when it's something, yes, between inside two and a squamous cell carcinoma, I can't figure
When
it
you
out.
look at a slide,
Yeah,
there's no way to know.
but she asked, what is this?
There's no way to know.
Okay.
How's the only way you can know?
Biopsy.
It's the only way you can know. Now,
Okay.
you may have an idea, okay? I mean, if you got some ulceration and it looks nasty,
It's
I mean, I
Squamous
showed
cell
you
carcinoma.
lesions that look nasty. You know those are squamous cell carcinoma,
carcinoma, yeah.
right?
Yes.
I mean, let's go look at a couple and I'll show you. But,
When it's inside two.
but in situ, no. I mean, okay, let me ask you another question. What if somebody has, you look in there and it has a white patch,
Mhm.
okay? On the gingiva or on the lateral border of the tongue, a white patch that won't wipe off?
Benign keratosis.
Okay, but that's a microscopic diagnosis.
Yeah.
Diagnosis.
Oh.
So if you came to me and say, hey, I got a white patch, and you would say, I would ask you, what is it? It would be leukoplakia. That's a clinical term, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
But leukoplakia is either going to be what then? It's going to be
benign keratosis.
benign keratosis,
Keratosis dysplasia.
dysplasia,
Squamous in situ. No.
carcinoma in situ,
Yes, and then squamous cell
squamous
carcinoma.
carcinoma. Right,
Yeah.
it's going to be one of those.
Mhm.
But clinically, if it's white, won't wipe off,
Mhm.
we call that leukoplakia, which is only a clinical term. You never do a biopsy on that, and when you get your path report back that describes it, it would never say leukoplakia, because that doesn't tell you if it's benign, premalignant, or malignant.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, but she asked. She showed us the slide. Is it inside too? Is it? She asked.
Well,
what is
she
it?
may have showed you histology slide.
Oh, okay.
She can't show you a clinical slide. There's no way to know.
Okay.
Absolutely no way to know.
I have a question. So, let's say it is a white patch, and we say it's leukoplakia, but it's on the side of the tongue.
Yes.
So, would it be more likely to be premalignant since it's on the tongue?
Yes. Remember the high risk areas?
Right. Yeah.
High risk areas are floor of the mouth,
Mhm.
lateral border of the tongue,
Mhm.
soft palate and lip.
What was it you said?
And lip.
But you, when you say most likely,
Oh, no, the
but remember, most leukoplakia is benign now. 80% of leukoplakia is
Are
benign.
benign. Okay.
So when you say most likely to be, well, if you look at percentage-wise, it's most likely to be benign.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
remember I told you, if you have a leukoplakia on the side of the tongue,
It's 80%
you have a
benign.
42% chance it's dysplasia or
Right.
squamous cell carcinoma.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
But if it starts to have redness, that's when you start being
Yeah,
suspicious.
now when you get red and white together,
Then it's more suspicious.
then
Yeah.
up to those sometimes have 90% chance
Yeah.
that it's dysplasia.
Dysplasia,
Yeah, when you
yeah.
get the red and white together.
Yeah. Mm.
For pigmentation, how we notice it's Addison, Addison disease.
Addison disease, you can get pigmentation often on the gingiva tissue,
Okay.
okay? And any area exposed to the sun or traumatized, like the elbows.
Okay.
Now, why do you get pigmentation in Addison's disease? What is Addison's disease?
It's
Regarding other disease that they took a medication regarding that. No?
I believe it's like the adrenal cortex
Yes,
deterioration.
Cortisol and
right,
stuff.
right.
Yeah. Mhm.
And often, sometimes, years ago, I think it was due to TB, but now it's autoimmune disease.
Yeah,
Okay.
autoimmune.
So if the adrenal gland is not putting out the adrenal cortical stimulate hormone comes from the pituitary. But if the adrenal gland is not putting out hormones it should, then the pituitary gland tries to work itself and put out more adrenal cortical hormone. Okay,
Yeah.
so when it stimulates, that stimulates the pituitary gland.
Right.
What else is in the pituitary gland? Several different melanin stimulating hormones.
Yeah.
So it stimulates that melanin stimulating hormone too. So that's why you would get pigmentation.
Okay.
But one of the main features of Addison's disease often is tiredness. Remember I told you about the dental
Yeah.
student and his wife?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he would go home and go to bed middle of the afternoon, and his wife thought he was lazy.
Oh yeah.
He has Addison's disease.
He had Addison's disease.
It's so sad.
And then when you have an area on the lip, you know, sometimes we call it what?
On the lip.
Like,
Actinic cheilitis.
Actinic cheilitis.
and that area is also high risk of cancer, right? The lip.
Yes, it's one of the high-risk areas.
Yeah.
But, on the other hand, the 5-year survival rate
Is better.
is, the 5-year survival rate is actually about 90%.
Mm.
So you have a very good 5-year survival rate. And what 5-year survival rate means, these are the percent of people that will still be alive after 5 years. So the lateral border of the tongue, the 5-year survival rate on an average is probably, 30%. You know, but the lower lip is good. So, actinic cheilitis is also kind of a clinical term too, because that doesn't tell you if it's benign or malignant. But usually actinic cheilitis means you could have dysplasia. It could be totally benign, or you could have some dysplasia in there. All right. And then, like so like here, if I showed you this picture here, all right, that I'm pointing at, you don't know if that's, and Sarah, this is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's no way to know if this is benign or pre-malignant or malignant. There's no way to know. Absolutely no way to know. Now, what would I put for this? Clinically, I'd call it leukoplakia.
Yeah.
I can't ask you. I can never ask you and say, is that benign or malignant? I can't ask you that question. There's no way you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely no way you know. Or if you got, let's look at, like this one, whoops. Like this one here on the left-hand side. See that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you go in to biopsy something like this, you would say, well, where do you biopsy it? Well, you have to choose where you're going to biopsy. You may biopsy that case 3 different areas. Now, how would you choose it? Well, maybe, how would I choose it? I would choose maybe an area that has a little redness underneath it too.
Mm-hmm.
If I got the combination of red and white, I would worry about that. Or maybe even a little thicker area. Or if he had this on the floor of his mouth, like in this case here, I would want to biopsy right here, because I know that's a high risk area. Yeah.
Okay, we mentioned if it's white, it's gonna be
Go ahead.
80% benign kurtosis.
Yes, actually,
Well, right now we said
when
kurtosis.
they looked at a whole bunch of leukoplakias, like here's leukoplakia. When they when they looked at about 30,000 cases that Dennis biopsied, they went back and looked at them, and they were clinically called leukoplakia. 80% were
Benign
benign,
keratosis.
benign keratosis. Yeah.
But right now it's a keratosis with dysplasia. It's,
Keratosis with dysplasia, you could only tell that from a biopsy. Yeah. And if you could tell with your naked eye, you'd be a millionaire, because you could just sit in here and people walk by and you, oh, you got cancer, you don't, you do, right? Huh?
yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's a little leukoplakia on the lip. But when you get further out on the lip, where it's not moist, then it gets kind of scaly.
Yeah.
So I would call it scaly area kinniculitis, but it probably is a dysplasia.
Okay.
And here's one on the tongue. What would you call this? It doesn't wipe off. First thing you want to know if it wipes off. Here's another one.
So if it
It's
doesn't
on the
wipe
tongue.
off,
That one is
It's
benign
leuko-
keratosis.
benign
How do you know?
keratosis after the biopsy.
From the top up there where it says, but I mean, if my diagnosis wasn't there, you don't know. It's
Yeah.
still a clinical leukoplakia. And here's one. When you get the floor of the mouth like this, first thing you want to do is wipe it off. All right? And this is probably not a traumatic keratosis, right? Which doesn't get benign. What's the term they use? She uses for those? It's in here somewhere. Any other questions? And this is what?
Smokeless tobacco.
Smokeless
keratosis.
tobacco lesion.
Right. Keratosis. Does it have
Here's it,
keratosis?
it's on a young kid.
Uh-huh.
Smokeless tobacco. I think so.
And what is this?
Nicotine stomatitis.
Yeah.
Nicotine stomatitis.
But you don't see much anymore. But I don't know if you see that with hookah smokers or not.
Not sure.
No, because hookah smokers, it goes through water, so it's supposed to be cold.
Oh.
Yeah.
Actinic cheilitis.
Cheilitis.
Actinic cheilitis, yeah. And these are dysplasias, but you only knew after the biopsy.
Yep.
And here's erythroplakia,
Erythroplakia.
erythroleukoplakia, it's a combination of both.
Uh-huh.
And erythroplakia has a higher incidence of dysplasia or carcinoma than leukoplakia. So you worry more about a red lesion than a white.
Not a white. Okay.
All right, you ready for the pre-quiz? We'll take the pre-quiz first.
Pre or post?
Huh?
Oh, pre, yeah. Yes.
So is this on abscesses and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I only got 3 sheets. This is 7. I have another one.
Do you want me to ask Barbara to make a quick
No,
copy?
I'll just write it on another sheet.
Are you sure she's like right across the corner?
Then that's
I
about
just
four.
write it on this sheet. It's not a
Okay.
problem.
Do you
And
need
here's
the
the one we
answer
did.
key?
Huh?
Do you need the answer key? No. No.
What is
Oh.
that?
So
I
you don't
didn't
go
get
back
it.
and forth?
Alright, I'm just trying to get what we did. Pre-quiz 6, that's what we did.
around 7, I think.
This is pre-quiz 7?
Yes. 6 we did that yesterday.
Oh, you did 6 yesterday.
Yes, I think.
Oh, okay, that's what I got handed in today. All right,
You grade us or she grades
I
us?
agree. Maybe she changes it, I don't know.
Yes.
Does
Because
she
last
like
time, no, she doesn't. Last
Oh,
time,
yes, she does.
last time we
She
all
likes
got
you.
3. But when she posted on Canvas, I got 2.
Really?
Yes. That means she changed them. I don't know my mistake,
Wow.
so I don't go back.
I have to talk to that woman. She doesn't trust me, is that what you're saying?
I don't know. No, she does. Not supposed to talk. It's better.
It's pretty easy. Oh, I did. I mean, the test you're gonna have today is, I thought, really easy. But this one I didn't, I haven't looked at yet. So this is the pre-quiz number 7?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's on, what? It's on Pulp and Periapical.
Yes,
Cysts
pulp
and
and
cysts.
cysts.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're gonna go over today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go.
It's a lecture.
Oh, wait, that's the lecture. Wait, I said pre-quiz. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay, here we go. Here we go. So
Yes.
it's this one here. There we go, okay. All right. Now, you're looking at the radiograph. Look around, and you'll see something
Yeah.
in one area that's not in the other area. Wait, you guys, oh, you got it. You have the key, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, it's all right, I'll just write it down, okay. Yeah, I'm taking a hard quiz, I gotta write an answer. I don't understand where that key went.
You can ask Barbara.
You know, I have it somewhere.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'll find it. No, I'll find it.
Did she say?
No, I can write it. I can still grade you. Okay, when you're ready, let me know. So she's saying, what is the most likely diagnosis? This asymptomatic lesion was noted during routine dental examination 5 years ago, adult male. So it has not changed in appearance. Okay, you ready? Okay, number 2.
Do you recognize any of these pictures?
Let's see, I'll picture
Yeah.
some of my stuff.
You need to start
I'd like to
charging.
go- Huh?
You need to start charging.
Yeah, I think I'll start charging now. All right, you ready? Okay, next. Okay. Next.
Cause that's like.
Okay. Here's the next one. I think that was the last one. No, there's one more. 7.
that more? Goodness.
Okay,
Was it
you
also
got this one?
Yes.
7. Okay, here's 8. I do have the right quiz, don't I? Hold on. This one's a free, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it says pre-quiz. Okay.
Yeah, it's down.
Says free quiz?
Yeah.
Alright, I just wanna make sure it
That
wasn't
was
giving you a
long
fine.
for pre-quiz.
Yeah, I was gonna make sure I didn't give you the quiz for last time. Okay, so this is probably the last one, okay. Yeah, pre-quiz, okay, here's number 8.
Can we go over 4? Is that okay?
4?
Yes.
Alright, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Alright, here's the papers then. Let's see how you did. A little harder. Your bony lesions are a little harder.
Can I see like what we get? Like compare and stuff? Like what we got?
Well, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
over.
Oh, okay. Because I have no idea. I'll send it down.
What do you mean you have no idea? You're supposed to study this. Huh?
It's that.
Well, it's interesting. For the first one, all of you got different answers. Alright, maybe I'll have a different answer. Okay, this atypical lesion was noted during routine exam. 5 years ago in adult male, it was not changed. So where is this at?
The lower jaw.
The lower jaw.
No,
It's a nice radiolucency. So it hasn't changed in 5 years. So it's not growing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it stone? No, a stone gets bigger.
So
It's nothing. I don't.
So what do you think?
I said mandibular.
So, Ryan, why did you put 3 answers?
That was me, I think.
No. Oh, it was.
Yeah,
Oh, did I put my name on it? Oh, I did.
my bad. I didn't have time to erase the other ones.
Pardon?
Didn't have time to erase them.
You have the potential to raise them,
No,
but you
Didn't
didn't
have
raise them.
time to erase that
Okay.
one.
Now, Sarah,
I
you
didn't
put
know.
acute apical periodontitis, but it's no way related to rounded tooth,
Yeah,
so it can't be,
it can be.
cannot be, right?
No.
Okay. Heidi, you put Nate, linguomandibular salivary gland depression.
Yeah.
Guess what?
What?
You happy with the answer or not?
I don't know.
Yes, you gotta know.
Actually, that sounds more correct now that I think of it.
Now that you think of it,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a typical lingual salivary gland depression. And what is a lingual salivary gland depression? It is when the submandibular salivary gland pushes during development, it pushes in, so it's a concavity. It's not a true cyst. It's not even a cyst.
Mm-hmm.
It's a concavity. Sometimes it can be bilateral, and they're often in that area.
Yeah.
All right. So, Sarah, you did put that, but you put it for your last answer, and it doesn't help.
Yeah, it's wrong. I did wrong.
And Brian, you put chronic apical. There's no teeth around there, Brian.
Mm. Yeah.
Chronic apical you got to have teeth around it, right? We agree?
Yeah.
All right. You were the smart one on that one, Heidi.
Not even, honest. No.
Okay, this young male has rampant carriage from trench mouth. There was neither pain nor swelling associated with this bony lesion. What is the most likely diagnosis? Sarah, you put M, which is radicular cyst. And I won't argue with that.
I think that seems kind of messy.
And Heidi, you put A, acute apical periodontitis. I would argue with that a little bit because the answer is acute. This says there's no pain or swelling.
Acute.
Acute means pain or swelling.
So when it's okay, yeah, you're right. Because when it's chronic, that's when there's no pain.
That's when there's no pain.
But I did
Yeah.
put M on it.
You
as
did
I
put
said.
M.
Yeah,
Which is radicular cyst,
yeah.
which I don't think she's looking at for an answer, but that could be. It's possible.
Okay.
Because you can't tell a dental. Did she put a chronic apical periodontitis? And that would be, this would be chronic apical periodontitis would be the first answer. Brian, you put M, which is radicular cyst, which I would have to give you credit for, both of you, because you, on an X-ray, you cannot tell a cyst from a chronic apical periodontitis. You can't tell. There's no way. I'd argue with anybody on that.
Mm.
So I would still like, it could be a cyst. No, and here's one thing. Usually a cyst is more than 1 centimeter, and this is more than a centimeter. So yes, it could be a cyst. So I would have to say that's okay. But if you put chronic apical periodontitis, I would have done that too. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
But you missed it because it's not acute, right?
Yeah, but it is radicular.
Okay. So the answer to that would have been, I don't have trouble with radicular cyst. So Sarah, you got it right. Okay. And Heidi, you put 2 answers.
Do I get half at least?
I don't know. Does she do that?
Sometimes.
All right. Well, I'll give her.
Yeah.
1.5.
No, that one is wrong. No. I
Okay.
put 3 answers, so it doesn't make sense.
And Brian, you put M, which is okay. All right. Does that make sense on that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this middle-aged male reported no symptoms in this area, so it's not acute. Chronic exam reveals slight bone expansion. Things she should have put here. She should have said that the adjacent teeth are vital. That would have been helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you see a lesion in this area, it is usually what you said, Sarah, lateral periodontal cyst, which is correct. And Heidi, you put, this is 3. You put M, which is radicular cyst. No, but there's not even any caries on the tooth. See? Yeah. Or you started out good.
Yeah, I look good.
Okay, and Brian, you put H, which is lateral periodontal cyst, which is correct. Okay? This one, nobody should miss this one.
Oh, I think I did.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
It's gotta be on here. It's a pulp polyp.
I blanked on that one, but I know what it is.
Chronic hyperplastic
Yeah.
pulpitis.
Pulpitis.
D. You have it
Yeah.
right.
I don't. Yeah.
4.
I think.
Heidi.
I think I switched
Lateral
H
periodontal cyst?
and D together. I think I like mixed them up.
Yeah, you did. Okay. And again, this is D. And Brian, you got it right.
Yeah.
Okay. 5. Okay, here's one that's in, often when you have a cyst in that area, the developmental, seen in 1% of the people. What is, and the teeth are vital, she should have put teeth are vital. It would have been better. So what's your answer, people?
Nasal.
I don't know.
I said it's
Pardon?
close to the nose, so it's nasally or something.
I was gonna put nasal, but then I didn't.
What's the sheet color? Oh, nasal palatine duct cyst. It's a nasal palatine duct cyst. I don't, what is this, Sarah? I can't read your writing.
It's J. Nasal one.
Is what?
J. It has nasal something on
Oh,
it.
J, I can, because you marked off the J. Okay. You had your pencil and looked like an I. That's all right. So 5 is J. 5 is D. What?
No, I mixed these two up.
Man,
No.
well, you're gonna have to bring cookies next time.
Nah.
5 is J, okay. Okay, good. Okay. This is a harder one.
Yeah,
that
that's a
was
hard one.
The
complicated.
young male
I
presents for
didn't know.
evaluation of a right lower expansion. You can slowly increase in size for a year. What would be the top? Well, could be one of several things. I would choose as a possibility F or K. F or K would be either one. And Sarah, you chose K, which is a good answer. Yep. And Heidi, you chose K, which is a good answer. Okay. And you chose K. Okay, good. You guys got, that was good. Okay. This middle-aged man complains of throbbing pain. Examining reveals a swelling around tooth 28. What is the best? Now this is acute. So this should be acute apical periodontitis.
That's where I put
Should be A.
Yeah.
So you got, Sarah, you got A. And Heidi, you got A. And you got A. Good. All right. Not bad. This is a pretty easy one. Very characteristic. You have the radiolucency going around the teeth. And often this is an empty cavity, a developmental thing. And this is a traumatic bone cyst or a solitary bone cyst. Does she use the word traumatic in here?
No.
Bone cyst. Traumatic bone cyst.
Simple bone cyst.
I didn't know that.
Simple or traumatic.
Bone
Yeah.
cyst, okay.
So Sarah, you blew that, and that is O. F. Heidi, you put F. Was it dentigerous cyst? No. No.
That's what I was thinking.
See,
'cause, like,
she should have put that all the teeth are vital.
yeah, that's the thing. Like
Yes,
I should have.
right.
That's why I put.
But I don't see, because it could be a dentigerous,
That's why I
unlikely.
was- yeah.
It's a possibility, but
Can it
unlikely.
be a possibility?
Not really. It's so, this one is so classic. Yeah.
Bone cyst.
This is, as soon as you see this, you should know that is a simple bone cyst. And you put K, which is odontogenic keratocyst. That's not a good answer either.
So what makes this characteristic?
The characteristic part is how it goes up around the teeth, okay? And
Oh, I see.
often there, yes. And she should have given a little more information, would have been better, that all teeth are vital. Should have given that. Yeah, that's really important, because first thing you want to do is test the teeth. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Could have better. All right.
It is so bad.
Yeah, that's the worst one you've done for a while, honey.
Yeah. Can I?
Turn on.
Yeah.
Not easy.
All right. So now let's go through some of these.
No, the worst one is coming right now.
Why does that time go so fast? Okay, so now we're doing what? We're doing
Pulse.
Pulp Periapical, right? Pulp and cysts. Not a quiz. We don't want the quiz.
We have a quiz.
We want the. Oh, we don't want the quiz. We had the quiz.
But we have another quiz.
Oh, we want the word.
Oh.
Oh, wait. Is this what we want? No.
Goodness.
Oh, I'm looking. I need to go
I think
back.
you have to go back.
I have to go back.
Yeah. To
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay. You get your hand out? Let me start with
We
what?
have quiz again. We have
Yeah.
first quiz. We have two quiz today.
Yeah, at the end of class we have the other.
Oh, got it.
Oh, really? You
Yeah.
want to take it right now?
Why?
Just to get it out of the way, kind of. Right? Or no? I don't know. It's up to you. You're the teacher.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're the student. Do we have them around? Okay, where's the quiz? This is what? Quiz what? Post quiz what?
Epithelial and pigmentation.
We had them because I saw them somewhere. Post quiz 5?
Let's see.
1, 2, 3. 3 actually. Post quiz, no?
1,
This is post quiz.
3.
Yeah, it's on epithelium, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yeah, that one.
All right. Oh, post quiz 3. There you go. Post quiz quiz. 1, 2, 3. All right.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah.
We're gonna do better this time,
Oh, yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
No, I have to.
Shouldn't have gone to Halloween last
To
night.
Chipotle.
Okay, here we go. Okay, we're ready?
Mhm.
Goodness.
And as she said, it was a descriptive term, right?
Mhm. Okay, because I'm like thinking of two things right now.
Yeah, but she
Or
said, what's a
descript-
descriptive
Yeah,
term?
like the like how to describe it.
Right,
Because yeah, I don't know. There's like yeah.
just what we were talking about before the
Mhm.
test.
Yeah, I know.
So why do you
Because
have
it's
two
not
answers?
the name of it?
Because it can be either or. That's the thing. So I have this.
I can't
Yeah,
argue with
that's the
that.
thing.
I can't
Okay.
argue with that.
Because then, cause
I didn't put that?
Yeah. That's why I'm like,
I couldn't argue
Yeah.
with that.
okay.
I like my answer better,
Okay.
but I won't
Okay.
argue with your answer either. Okay,
What is that?
it's not yeah,
You know, it's because of the white.
yeah.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would give you, I would say there's one place in there you could see
Yeah,
that.
that's what. But
Okay,
it's okay.
number 3. And we talked about this before we started at the beginning of class.
Yes.
I would like to ask this question, I would ask this question this way. What are the 3, or we're not asking it this way, what are the 3 likely things this could be? That's what I would ask,
Okay.
but we're
Can
not.
we give 2 answers?
No.
Okay.
But you mentioned we just have one thing that it's going to be on a palette.
She wants one thing. Well, many things could be on the palette.
But it's going to be like a macule on a palette. Goodness. I thought it's going to be one thing on a palette.
And I'll tell you when we go through. Okay, here we are in the middle one. Okay, you got that, people? 5. Okay, 6.
Differential diagnosis.
She's not asking just for one thing, but there's, what is good for top of your differential one? So, I would say there's more than one right answer.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 7. Okay, number 8. We looked at this slide 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Look, there's a bridge there. Okay? 3-unit bridge.
Oh.
There's some other characteristics right there too that help you make the diagnosis. Right, Diane?
Yep. I remember that one.
Yep. And Sarah's thinking, I'm trying to remember this.
Yes.
What about this?
You still live down by the beach?
No.
Oh, okay. Number 9?
I can have 2 answers for
Yeah, I
this
go
one.
too.
Should I put both answers or?
You can.
Yeah.
But she didn't say clinical diagnosis.
What does she say? What is missing?
She just asked for the most likely diagnosis. Most likely diagnosis would be a microscopic diagnosis.
Oh, okay.
Well, to me, there's no right answer.
I'll just scratch it out.
Okay, 10 and 11.
Okay.
And then I got 10 and 11. Okay. I had to count on my fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
What does it mean there are 5 major warning signs of melanoma? That means for cancer, we have signs?
For melanoma, there's 5 warning signs. You learned A, B, C, and D, and E.
Okay.
So she's asking what's D stands for.
Awesome.
And it's not dinner.
No, it's not dinner, I know.
Is it possible to look at number 3 again?
Is this kind of in class? Is this similar to what you guys took in class, type of quiz?
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah. Not same, but similar.
That's stressful.
Can I look at number 6?
like to take the exam, you see a question different than when you make out the exam. I mean, when you're taking the exam, you can see some other possibilities. When you make the question, you don't see these other possibilities. See what I'm saying?
Like multiple choices.
Yeah, right.
Mhm. If she had like answers 1, 2, or 3, or 4, I
Right.
think we can be like, oh, quickly, like
Yeah.
choose it out.
Right.
Is that how you would do your quizzes?
Well, some of my quizzes are right in, but most of them were multiple choice.
Okay.
Because you have to go through, if you're doing a whole class, you got to go through every one of these. Says, well, yes, could be, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And to me, the student could argue and be right.
Yeah. I like how you're like that though. Like, if a student were to argue against a question, you'd like be understandable about it
Right.
and stuff.
Because I can argue on a couple of these. There's more than one answer to these.
Can I argue about the last quiz?
No. I won't argue on that one. I'll argue on a good one, but not that one.
Oh.
All right, you ready to hand them in?
Give me 1 minute. Maybe I remember that one.
What?
What was the D for that? Not dinner. 5 minutes of morning sun. I don't know. There you go. Can't remember.
In some ways, this was easier than the quiz.
Yes.
Yes.
What happened?
This was easier than the
last
quiz.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was.
That was easy. That was not easy for me.
Okay, let's go through them. And yeah, I can tell, but you guys wrote pretty fast.
What was the D?
Oh.
Don't tell her.
I don't know.
Huh?
Don't tell her. She's gonna go home and have sleep tonight about midnight. She'll wake up. I give you my phone number. You phone me when you know. Okay?
No, I'm gonna bother you about that last quiz though. Is there like a retake for that one?
Come on.
You said
Okay.
never saw
What is
my
this,
cue.
you guys?
Smokeless tobacco.
Smokeless tobacco patch, right?
Yep.
Well, we lost it, and I'm not sure why. There we
Before
go.
that, yeah.
Smokeless, and you got that one. You all got that. Okay?
Mhm.
The next one,
Leukoplakia.
a painless non-white web mass. What descriptive term should be used? So what does she mean by descriptive?
I don't know.
Like
I don't know.
leukoplakia, erythroplakia.
I would say what clinical term should be used for
Yeah.
this lesion, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Clinical
But it has to be
means
leukoplakia.
erythroleukemia.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Speculum.
changed it.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, you had squamous cell carcinoma there, and then you marked it out,
Yeah.
which was good. All right. This one here,
Nevis?
I'd say
Is that
could be,
nevus
I
or
could say
the
could be
other?
3 things.
It's not nevus.
Well, my first choice would be what?
Macule. Oral.
Melanotic.
No.
No,
Melanotic
not
nevus?
macule. Macule is here.
Not
Or-
always. A macule could be anywhere. A macule just means a flat colored area. You could have a macule on your arm.
Because that one's painless. And it's
That was
like,
painless.
Yeah.
Right.
Macule is painless. Nevus is painless. No?
Well, macule only means a
The patch.
discolored area. A discolored area.
This color.
Okay?
Okay.
So when I see a thing like this, I think of 3 things. Okay, I think of a nevus.
Mm-hmm.
I think of an oral melanotic macule.
Okay.
And one more I think of, not likely, but it's possible. It's not likely because it's in the middle of the palate. If it was right around the linguals of those teeth, what else could it be? What's this?
A mole?
No,
Oh, amalgam tattoo.
could be an amalgam tattoo.
But the color is brown. Amalgam tattoo is different color.
It's like purple
Not
and
necessarily always, but could be, yeah. But you make a good point. But I still say that's a possibility.
Okay.
I mean, it could be a different shade from the color. But so I would choose either oral melanotic macule or nevus. I would
Nevus.
choose either one of those.
Okay.
I wrote both.
Yeah, you got both. Yeah. So I can't argue either one, right? Most likely what she wanted
Yeah,
was
she knows.
she wanted nevus.
Oh.
Okay.
I know that's what it is. That's my slide.
Oh. So nevus can
Don't
be.
argue with me.
So nevus can happen in the mouth and on the outside. Okay.
Well, most nevuses are on the arm. A nevus is a mole.
Right.
So where are most of our moles?
On our.
On our
Face,
skin.
Body.
somewhere.
the
Yeah.
skin.
Yeah.
Nevus is a mole.
I recently got
Okay,
this
number
one.
4,
Squamous papilloma.
or
Verrucous.
Verrucous vulgaris.
Verrucous
to me you can't tell the difference. I put
I
squamous papilloma. I think you put verrucous
Vulgaris,
vulgaris.
vulgar,
And I
yeah.
looked at your answer and I thought, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
Brian's
Vulgaris.
got a better answer than I had.
Oh.
You know, you can't really tell the difference between them. Not always.
Oh.
To me, it could be either one.
It look like
Mhm.
a finger. It
Yeah.
so.
It looks more like fingers, so I like his
Yes.
verrucous vulgaris
I was
better than
debating-
my.
Mhm.
I like his answer better than mine.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you put verrucous, and you put, Heidi, you put what I did, squamous. I put squamous too.
Okay.
And then I put verrucous vulgaris after it.
Okay.
So I'll argue either one. And this was not,
That's easy.
Nick, you someone thinking, okay, you got that.
Mhm.
This one,
Oh.
I give more than one answer.
I put benign keratosis.
Keratosis?
Yes, that would be my first answer.
Okay.
Would be benign keratosis.
Cool.
Benign keratosis. That was, and I actually put dysplasia because, it doesn't help when I poke there. Because here it is from the floor of the mouth. Remember I said floor of the mouth nearly 50% can be dysplasia?
Mhm.
So I put dysplasia. And your answer is no better or worse than mine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I didn't put squamous cell carcinoma, it didn't look like it, but,
Mhm.
I mean, I have to give you, I can't argue with any of
Yeah.
those.
So okay.
This, you better all get that right.
Carcinoma.
You know that's a
That's a
squamous,
gross one.
you know that's, yeah, okay,
Amalgam tattoo.
yes, why?
Because he had endodontic surgery.
Right,
He
yeah,
was on that.
and then you see
yeah.
the scar tissue from the endodontic surgery, yes.
So they were filling.
I saw your eyes lighten up when you realized that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, when I said the 3-unit bridge, she said, oh, the tooth has been extracted, and she said, it had endo, and they did an apicoectomy. That all went through her mind.
I was like,
I saw that, just bing, 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 bing. All right? And then she came up with amalgam tattoo. And amalgam tattoo, oh, you all got it. Okay.
everyone got it.
You know, I could argue this one.
Actinic cheilitis.
Actinic cheilitis is what I
Cheilitis.
put. You put actinic. Okay, you put squamous cell carcinoma.
But then I crossed it out.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it, it's possible. It's possible.
That's what I said. 'cause
I would put
there's-
dysplasia
Yeah.
first, but because usually squamous cell carcinoma is not a flat
Mhm.
leukoplakia area. So, you know,
Cause there's slides where it said it. Yeah.
okay. What 5 major warning signs for melanoma?
No, what is D?
Oh, wait.
That's D. I didn't know.
Oh, no. 10. Oh, what is one example of epithelial disease that is always considered to be premalignant? Oh, she got tricky. She put them in different order. She did what I used to do. Okay, so what? What's the answer?
I don't know.
Which
For
one?
the
are
first
you-
one?
For the D.
What is one example of an epithelial disease that is always
Oh, it's
considered to
that
be
one.
premalignant
other
lesion?
Keratosis dysplasia? No?
Benign keratosis.
Well, that is premalignant. She's asking you, give one example of epithelial disease that is always considered to be well, I don't know what she means by that. You know what I put?
Benign keratosis.
Right. I put
premalignant.
leukoplakia.
You.
Yeah, it's most likely to be.
It's a leukoplakia is a premalignant lesion.
Yeah, that's why I put. I did that too. I did
Yes.
leukoplakia, but then benign keratosis is what it is.
But benign keratosis is never premalignant.
Yeah, I thought it was
So,
epithelial dysplasia.
but you put Sarah
Dysplasia.
keratosis dysplasia, and I'd have to say that's right. You put keratosis dysplasia, and I could say that's right. But you're saying benign keratosis,
Benign.
but
then I
you put white lesion leukoplakia, I'd have to say it's right.
Okay.
But I don't like your answer for benign keratosis,
You can
because
ignore
benign
that.
keratosis is benign,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you better mark that out here.
Yay.
What is D?
What did I tell you?
Brian know that. He
How
knows.
you missed that?
I don't remember.
You don't know your ABCs in English?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah?
D, what is D? D could be anything.
Did the kids at the nursery school sing ABC songs to you?
Yes. We sang together.
What is it? Tell her.
Diameter.
Diameter.
Ah, I know that. That's the size of it. Diameter. C is color. What is A? Asymmetry or symmetry?
Asymmetry, yeah.
What is B?
B is border.
Oh, border.
Yeah. Oh, wait. You got 10 over. All right, good, you guys. And she just made a comment when I talked to her today. Well, they're doing better on their pre-quizzes and post-quizzes. Well, you guys
Yeah,
just
of course,
did the
because we
opposite.
see them. Oh, no?
You guys did the opposite today.
Oh,
Can I run to the restroom real quick?
If you'll come back. Okay. You can see though, you always, there are answers, there's more to one, sometimes there's more than one answer.
Yeah.
So, that's why I always like to say, like that pigment, give me 2 likely possibilities or 3 likely possibilities. Or name 1 of 3 likely possibilities.
Yeah. I like that. That you can name out of like 1 out of 3.
So can I have one of these?
sure, yeah, I put them
So you're trying to entice me to give you, what's a twisty? I don't think
twisties.
It's a
Twix.
Twix.
I don't think I've ever had a Twix.
What?
That's good. It's mixed.
It's like caramel, I think.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of.
It's like Milky Way. You know, I remember when most candy bars were 5 cents. The only ones that were 10 cents was a Mound and Almond Joy.
Oh,
Almond Joy.
Everything else was 5 cents.
Wow. Which one was like the most popular like chocolate to get back in the day?
I mean, kind of Hershey's have always been the most
Oh, Hershey.
popular.
Oh,
right?
Hershey.
still Hershey's
Yeah.
good. It's a big company.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good. Oh, wait, we don't want this. We want
Go
that.
back again, I think. One more back. In the back. All the way up, back. No, here, left. Left. The blue one. Yeah. Yeah. Now you have it.
All right. So, she's doing purple first, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So let's go through. Sometimes this can be a little confusing. So, what happens when you get caries? You know, decay gets in here, works down, gets close to the nerve, gets close to the earth, and then you get inflammation in the pulp. And what happens is, once you get inflammation in here, then the pulp is not healthy, and sometimes you constrict the apex of the tooth so you don't get a blood supply up there to get rid of the inflammation. So actually the pulp will die. And a lot of times when you have acute apical periodontitis, all right, that means that you have inflammation around the tooth. Now if it's acute, you have swelling, all right, you got pain and swelling. But when you have when a non-tooth when tooth becomes non-vital due to deep caries, it can go a route of being totally asymptomatic. I mean, a patient can come in, you can take an x-ray, and you can find a large radiolucent lesion on the apex of that tooth, and you ask the patient, you ever had pain? No. Well, how can you not have pain? You got a dead tooth. Well, sometimes it's chronic, it's slow, so it never gives them a lot of pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, so that's chronic apical periodontitis.
A question. Vital means pain, no?
Pardon?
When the tooth is vital, that means you're gonna get pain, hurt.
A
yes?
tooth that's vital means it's alive. So all your teeth, whole teeth are vital,
Okay.
right? Unless you have a root canal. I have some root canals. So the teeth that I have root canals on, those teeth aren't
Oh,
vital.
they're not vital. Okay.
Because, so you can drill on it. So if I needed a crown prepped on one of my non-vital teeth,
Mm-hmm.
and I needed a crown, you would have to numb me up.
Oh.
Because you could drill on it, there wouldn't be any pain.
Okay.
I've had root canals done without anesthesia.
What?
Why?
Why?
No pain.
That was not vital?
There was no pain.
It was it because it's chronic.
Because it was chronic, not acute. You couldn't do it if it was acute.
Okay.
But if it was chronic, yeah. The only time you felt pain is when you took the file and went out the apex.
Yes.
And that was a little uncomfortable. You could feel that.
So when it's chronic, it's called chronic apical periodontitis,
Yes.
and it's like at the apex of the tooth,
Well, yes.
right?
Right.
Okay.
That's right. Periodontitis means
Uh-huh.
at the apex.
Uh-huh.
Because finally the disease goes down to that apex. Oh, she did it. Okay. So that's 1, 2. So you got in animal decay, it gets deeper, and then finally gets into the pulp. And now we got chronic apical periodontitis. And what's the body try to do? The body's trying to wall this off. And the body can wall this off and keep this confined, you don't have much swelling. All right? But if the body can't wall it off, and now we're not getting good blood supply to it, it can become acute, and then you get swelling. Let's see what you put for the neck. So, you have it. So here, you have a non-vital pulp, necrotic tissue, so the tissue becomes necrotic once decay gets in there. So you can have a periapical abscess, it's acute inflammation, get drainage, and you can end up with a sinus tract. Then if you had a sinus tract, you would never have pain. Because it doesn't build up pressure.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, could be chronic. Then here she has, or any time that could become a PA granuloma. What that is, that's chronic inflammation and repair at the apex, and so then that can develop into periapical cyst. I like the charts. They're from a book somewhere. So let's look at this. Pulpitis and periapical disease. So reversible pulpitis. So let's say you have some deep caries and you get a little bit of pain, get cold. Or let's say you got a tooth that you bite on it and say, oh man, there's not a bite on it, that hurts. Well, that could be due to a cracked tooth. If the crack's not too deep, that pulp could be reversed if you put a crown on it.
Yeah.
Okay? So if your decay wasn't too deep, somebody said, yeah, I got a little sensitivity, and you went to the dentist and had deep decay. If you did a filling on it, put a good base, that tooth could go back to normal, to a vital pulp. Does that make sense? All right? So, vitality test in reversible pulpitis, reversible sensitivity, sensitive to cold, radiographs would be no change, right? Acute pulpitis, pain severe, constant, because it's acute. Hyperresponsive to none. Well, usually it's hyper-responsive. If you tap a tooth, somebody comes in with a toothache and you say, oh, I got a toothache here. Well, you don't know which one. You have to take an x-ray. All you got to do is take the back of your mirror and tap, and you'll know which one, because the one you hit. Why? When you put pressure on that tooth, it's pushing the apex down, right? On where the inflammation is, so you're going to have pain, right? So the x-ray still may not have much of a change. On chronic pulpitis, you may have intermittent pain, not much. So reduced response to any type of vitality test, and still no change. Acute periapical abscess, that is when you have swelling. Swelling means abscess, okay? So abscess is, and the endodontist will tell you that. You look at an x-ray, like I'm looking at old x-rays, right? We don't do that nowadays, we look on our computer. But I looked at them on a, so if you look, let's say, look at tooth number 7, and it had an apical reticule around it, and the student says, oh, I got an abscess. Well, no, you can't tell an abscess from an x-ray.
Yeah.
Because abscess is a clinical term for swelling. You can't see swelling on an x-ray, right?
Yeah.
So you couldn't use that term, abscess.
So the periapical.
Periapical lesion. So a periapical granuloma, pain none to slight because it's chronic, right? So you can have a chronic periapical, well, which term she used in your quiz? Chronic apical periodontitis is a periapical granuloma. Hyperplastic is a pulp polyp.
That's when the pulp is out.
Yep. And that only happens in young teeth. Why young people? Not old people. Well, it's caused by decay. Here you got a bombed out cavity, and all of a sudden the pulp grows out of that too. Why? Why is it always on young people?
Because they get cavity.
Well, an old person can get a cavity too. What's the difference to the opening of the apex of a tooth in a young child compared to an older person?
Closer.
Well, don't they have bigger?
Oh, yeah.
Bigger canals.
Yeah.
So you have more possibility of blood getting in there, taking care of it, so it stays alive because it's got a good blood supply. So that's why you see that. So you usually never see that on an old person. Oh, so we need to follow. Okay, we need to follow your nose. You know what? I'm confused. Pardon me. I'm going to my hand now. It's just neutral from my hand if I follow my hand. Okay, pulp parade right here. All right,
So this one's your slide?
it is my slide. Okay, so here's a pulp polyp, right? Growing out of a vital tooth.
That was quiz question. Quiz question.
Quick, well, answer it.
No, that was quiz question.
Oh, yeah.
picture.
That was a quiz
Yes.
question.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Okay, and here's another one, an anterior tooth on a primary tooth. See that? And often what happens, sometimes they're covered by epithelium. How did the epithelium get there? Pulp doesn't have epithelium in it. So where does epithelium come from?
Lamina? Or
From the bottom side?
From where?
Down? No?
Think of this. Where? So it's very vascular, right? So cells could break off of the areas in your mouth and land on that very vascular tissue, and it could grow. So that's how you could get squamous epithelium on top of that pulp polyp. All right? Because normally it doesn't have epithelium. That's why this one here is not really so hemorrhagic. So let's read their notes here. Usually children, young adults on a pulp pulp, because why? They have a large pulp, right? And they get good blood supply. Tissue in pulp is vital, okay? You still have some nerve tissue. Usually painless, except when biting on. That makes sense. Usually deciduous molars are first permanent, and that's what you usually see it. Usually you're going to see it in deciduous molars or first permanent molars. Associated with the large carious pulp exposure that we talked about, that you see on this one here. Tissue growing out of the pulp is what we see, right?
Mhm.
So what's histology? It's granulation tissue and chronic inflammatory infiltrate. So it's just nothing but granulation tissue. And then when these epithelial cells land on it, all right, they end up growing because it's very vascular, and that's okay. So what is the treatment for a pulp polyp? Either extract the tooth or do a root canal.
So
Does that make sense?
extracting the tooth, okay.
Or a root canal.
Okay.
Yep. So here's another, look at this pulp growing out of there.
So it's painless. Why they didn't let it go? Like keep
They're
it
painless.
Painless means no pain.
Yes.
Okay, so it's better than do the root canal or extract it.
Well, but you better want to do a root canal. This person finally, when I took this picture, this person finally came in because it was now biting against the lower teeth. Yeah. Isn't that cute though? A little pulp polyp growing right out of there too?
It's
I think
disgusting.
that's beautiful.
Gross.
No. Not gross.
Goodness, so disgusting.
What if you were young and you saw someone with that on their teeth? Would you go out with them? Like just that thing hanging out.
Oh goodness.
What would you say?
That's why I'm saying it's disgusting.
That's why she thinks it's disgusting.
Maybe if they kept it, just say, okay, we're going out on a date, will you keep your mouth closed? Huh?
Yeah.
Please don't talk to me tonight. We can make out and everything, but when you kiss me, keep your mouth closed.
Closed mouth kissing. Yeah.
Mouth kissing.
Can that also be in the anterior
Yes,
teeth?
you
though?
can, because the one I showed you before was on an anterior. See the other one?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you don't
That's
have
on a
any
primary
tooth
tooth.
here. That it doesn't come out from the tooth. This one.
Yes, it comes out. There is a tooth there. The tooth is, here's the tooth. Here's the edge of the tooth, right around the outside.
Okay.
And here's the pulp polyp right on the inside. So this is a primary central.
Well, what is the white one on there? I thought that's
What
the
is it? That's the permanent tooth ready to come in.
Two tooth at the same time coming out?
Well, it's coming out. It's pushing this one out.
Oh.
Actually, because this tooth hasn't come out yet, it's actually pushed the
Yeah.
permanent one lingually. Yeah. Okay. Now, acute apical periodontitis. It's we looked at. So it is localized and acute, frequently spontaneous. So what happens? You have pain sometimes without stimulating with cold or something like that, all right? And can have it. Sometimes you can have excruciating pain. Why you can have excruciating pain? Because even though it's a little acute inflammation in the apex, that's a tiny area.
Yeah.
There's no area. There's no place for the pressure to go. See, that's why it's so painful. Extreme painful to touch when you bite it, tap on it. Tooth is in supraocclusion, no overt swelling. So you don't swelling in acute apical periodontitis.
No swelling?
No swelling.
Wait, what does supraocclusion mean?
Supraocclusion means it's elevated, and why does it elevate? It elevates because you have inflammation at the bottom of that tooth. So the inflammation microscopically elevates that tooth.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
So what happens when you bite? It hurts because that tooth is, a couple micro, what is it? Micro millimeters or whatever you want to call it, higher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, radiograph on acute periapical periodontitis. You don't see any, no change, or you can see a slight thickening. Histology is just inflammation of the pulp. How do you treat it? You got to treat it by endodontic therapy or extraction. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what's it usually caused by? In most cases, what causes acute apical periodontitis in a tooth?
Infection.
Yeah.
Infection from what?
Bacteria.
Bacteria
Or
or
Bacteria came from where?
food? No.
No.
Well, from the mouth.
Like
Blood?
Just bacteria, like not brushing your teeth, or maybe like
No.
putting something.
But on the tooth. Caries.
oh,
Uh-huh.
caries,
Yeah.
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 We knew
Uh-huh.
it.
We do that.
Yes.
We
Okay?
do that.
So that's acute. So acute is that it has symptoms. Remember, at the early stages here, you're not going to see anything on an x-ray, like I was showing you on the other slide.
Okay, so when she's gonna quiz us on it again, she's basically gonna give us a radiograph
Yeah.
picture, and she's just gonna do the description. Because with the acute apical periodontitis, you can't really see.
You can't see that it's
You
painful.
can't see it,
Right.
or you can't see the lesion or
Yeah.
these.
Acute apical periodontitis, yeah, you won't see, on acute apical periodontitis, if, like it says here, x-ray,
Mm-hmm.
there is hardly no change.
Okay. hardly.
Because it's early.
Yeah.
Now, on chronic apical periodontitis, we call this a dental granuloma, okay? And that's chronic.
Yeah.
So it's a standoff, clinical signs, see a standoff between local resistance and noxious stimuli. It's common, painless, slow growing. So what happens, that apical area, that radiolucency, why is it radiolucent? Because the bone gets destroyed, right?
Yeah.
That inflammation is destroying that bone. So it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, all right? So that, now you may start to see that thing on a radiograph. So when we go to radiograph here on the 6th page, so now you can see a radiolucency,
Mm-hmm.
all right?
Yeah.
And usually they don't get larger than 1 centimeter.
Okay.
They can, I've seen them much larger than a centimeter,
Yeah.
right? Histology, proliferation, again, it's granulation tissue and very vascular, a lot of lymphocytes, inflammatory cells, things like that. Treatment is endo or extraction. So the difference between acute apical periodontitis and chronic apical periodontitis, one's painful, one's not.
So, okay.
Now you can have a chronic periapical periodontitis, and at any time it could become acute. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or an acute, if you didn't take care of it, could become chronic. It can go back and forth.
Which one is worse, chronic or acute?
Chronic.
Well,
you can't feel
when
anything.
nothing worse would be if it has pain. They're both got a dead tooth,
Oh, okay. But
so
the
they both need. But the only one's painful is acute.
acute is painful.
Right.
Does one destroy bone more than the other?
No.
Okay.
Maybe the acute could. Yeah, the acute maybe could. No, they're both going to destroy it.
Mhm.
Right. So what's a dental abscess? Well, it's a dental infection characterized by necrotic pulp, okay, with accumulation of acute inflammatory exudate beyond the apex of the tooth. So it's characterized by pain, and what is that underlying thing there? Swelling. You gotta have swelling.
Swelling for the chronic.
Right. So for an abscess.
Abscess, dental
Right.
abscess.
Right. A chronic apical periodontitis, you usually would not have swelling, but in acute, you could.
But that guy is swelling.
Yeah, he's got swelling.
It's
So is that
acute.
He is an acute apical periodontitis.
Okay.
I
Acute.
remember when I took that picture.
Acute, we have swelling, yeah?
Yep.
Why wouldn't that be chronic though? Oh, because he's feeling pain.
He's in pain.
Okay.
But look at his, look at the
swelling.
swelling here.
Yeah.
And then here, this is his tooth. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So what did we do for him?
Extract.
We wanted to, yeah, you could. The better thing though is,
Endo.
Root canal?
well, you could open it up. You want to establish drainage. You want somewhere for that pus to go.
Okay.
So you can go in there, and actually I've done it on, go down with a perio-probe along the perio ligament, push it down, and you open it up, and the pus just comes up. And you just push on this, and that pus just pours out of there, and you suck it right up. Can I have another piece? Can't even try to say that.
No, goodness, you.
I mean, that feels so good to suck that pus.
Yeah, I bet.
Hey, goodness, that's the reason you're a dentist.
Yeah.
Because the pain goes away on it.
So you have to get it
They say, oh, that feels so much better.
Do
Yeah.
they feel relief after it comes out right away?
The what?
Like when you take out the pus right away, do they feel relieved or is it
Oh, yes, right away.
right away?
Right away.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
So any tooth hurts, that means they're gonna have a pus under that?
Gonna have what?
Infection on their rest?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
You could have a tooth that has just a cracked tooth,
Oh, yeah.
and you would take care of it. If the pulp's not damaged, if you still have a vital pulp, you put a crown on it where it protects the tooth, it's okay. But if that cracked tooth, goes down into the pulp,
Yes.
then that's irreversible pulpitis. So you have reversible pulpitis, irreversible pulpitis. So all these acute and apical, acute and chronic apical periodontitis, they are irreversible pulpitis. All right?
Yeah, I had that one month ago.
Okay.
So, so that radiolucency is bone loss?
Yes,
That was half.
the radiolucency is bone loss.
Okay, and then there's
So
also...
that doesn't happen overnight.
Uh-huh.
That takes, probably for 6 months, he had a chronic apical periodontitis. Okay? But what happened was all of a sudden it became acute. So his chronic apical periodontitis, which we call this a dental granuloma now, became acute. And now it's swelling. So now he would call it an abscess. He's got an abscess. Because abscess is only a term that describes swelling.
So, and then, okay, so but when you drain it, the bone loss, it's still gonna be there.
No,
Oh.
after you do once you do the root canal, the area of infection is in that root canal. But now you've lost the vascularity going up into that root, right? Into the canal, okay? So it won't clean out, you can't get rid of the bacteria. All the root canal just cleans the bacteria out, and you seal it. Then once you seal the canal in the tooth, well then all the vascularity at the apex of the tooth can take care of that infection there. So what happens? Over a period of time, this radiolucency will heal. In 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, that radiolucency will be gone. But the only treatment for this tooth is what?
Root canal.
Or
Extraction.
extraction.
What is the radiograph for abscess, dental abscess? How does it show on a radio?
Well, this is
On
an
an
abscess.
This one is abscess?
Yes,
Oh, got it.
because he has that inflammation.
Yeah.
But now, if I only showed you this radiograph, okay? You can't put the word abscess,
Yes. We need an explanation.
right, because you don't see any swelling.
Got
So
it.
you can't call it an abscess. Does that make sense?
You can only see that clinically?
Yeah, swelling you're gonna see
Yeah,
clinically.
right.
So if I just showed you that radiograph, what are you gonna put for a diagnosis?
Which one?
Not an abscess.
The one here.
Acute or chronic?
Could be acute, or if I gave you no
Yeah.
history at all.
Yes.
It
I'd
could
say
be acute or chronic,
Yeah.
or it could be,
Apical,
if it's
yeah.
chronic, it's a dental granuloma,
Yeah.
or it could be a radicular cyst.
Oh, okay. So if it was like, just the x-ray, it would be either acute, chronic, or a radicular cyst? And
Or, yeah, chronic would be chronic apical periodontitis. It's an old term, it's a dental granuloma.
okay, and then that condition, those conditions would cause an abscess? Could
Yes,
cause an
right.
abscess?
If the body
Okay.
if the body couldn't keep this area walled off, the body tried to wall this infection off, but it couldn't. So the infection had to go somewhere, so that's why the infection's going down through the different facial planes, and that's why it's all swollen up. And so when you see this picture here, see this picture? Well, here, finally, it went out, and now he's got a bump, like right here. See this? This is a fistulous tract. So it's draining. Now, once it starts draining, then you have no pain anymore. So you could take a gutta percha point and stick right into that area. All right? See, here's the problem in class. We get to discuss these possibilities, and you don't get to do that in
No,
class.
no.
In class, you're just going through this,
Yes.
and everybody can't answer things. But when you have a discussion like this, you can ask questions,
Mhm.
you know.
This is awesome. Yeah.
So there is an advantage of this over a class, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For sure. This is funny.
And in class, you don't have a crazy instructor like you have here.
Dr. Grumpy?
No, she's not.
She seems, I don't know her, she seems nice.
Yeah.
Students were afraid of me.
Really? Oh.
Why?
I look mean. They had to get to know me, but
I scared Dr. Richards.
Yeah.
I get
scarred.
nervous so bad.
really?
Mm.
She's a woman, you shouldn't get, that shouldn't bother you.
Men are easier than
Really?
women. Yes. All my patients, they're men or old
Really?
men or
They're easy?
boys. We're laughing, but with women, no, they're so grumpy.
But you know who were my best patients in private practice?
Older women.
Yes.
Really? No,
I
mine is so
remember
grumpy.
you saying something, an older woman like gave you a kiss
Yes.
right after denture.
Older women are
Men are better.
older women are either nicer patients or they're the most bitchy.
Oh,
Bitchy
yeah.
patients you
Yes,
don't wanna
yeah, I
deal
agree
with.
with you. They're so grumpy.
Oh yeah.
I can't open
They're
my mouth. What I should do if
Yeah.
you cannot open
Either
your
way,
mouth?
but most older women are really nice, sweet, nice.
Men are better.
Yeah.
They're so cool, easy.
Men are pretty cool,
Yes, pretty cool,
Yeah,
easy
men are
going.
pretty easy
yes.
going.
Yes.
usually.
Women are picky.
Yeah, women are a little more picky.
I don't like picky.
Yeah. So now we have these, now you see, now we have a fistulous tract. See what a fistulous tract is? So the pain is going to be gone. Okay, so you can drain several areas. How's it going to drain? It's going to drain out least resistance. So here's a tooth that's draining. This is an example of this. So what is this soft? This is soft, filled with pus. What is that called? And it's probably in here somewhere.
Parylus.
Oh yeah,
Gumboil.
a parylus, a gumboil. See that down there?
Yeah.
That's what a parlous.
A parylus is a gumboil.
Okay.
Now,
So
are
that-
they, if you have a gumboil, are you usually going to have pain?
Yeah.
No.
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 Why? Because it's relieving the pressure.
Oh.
So these are types of dental abscesses right now.
These
Yeah.
would be a swelling. This would be an abscess.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
So
Now,
Okay.
some swelling. Sometimes you'll see. I may have a picture here. You may have pictures coming out, a fistulous tract coming out of the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that happen.
So a gumboil is it's sort of like a bump,
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Here's a gumboil right here. This is a gumboil or parylus.
and then
Yeah.
is
They're
it gonna-
soft because they're filled with pus.
Uh-huh. And then is it gonna drain?
This
Is it-
keeps draining. Right.
into that
You-
area.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what you could do on this one, you could, this tooth's going to need a root canal. It's non-vital, right? If you got a parylus, you know this tooth is non-vital. Because this was either acute or chronic periodontitis. Okay? All right? So I could go in and I could take an Explorer, just make a hole into this, pus would come out. And then all the swelling would go down. But in a few days, it's going to swell back up because that hole I made with the Explorer is going to heal closed and the pus is going to go into that cavity and it's going to expand until it gets so big and then it's going to break through again, like a dike breaking through with it, like. So here's a person down here, look, who's got a bump down here and now he's draining down this way. See? All these are non-vital teeth. So these are all examples of where things could drain. And here's one from anterior tooth. Mostly they drain to the buccal. You usually don't see a parylus on the lingual because the bone is thicker. Yeah. Okay, and here's another one going down here below the mylohyoid line. And then you can get drainage up to the sinus sometimes, maxillary sinus. Yeah. And here's a lingual one though. See, here's a lingual. So I've seen these before, like this.
Did you take that picture?
No, that one I didn't take. And then this one here is where it's above the mylohyoid line, mylohyoid muscle. Here's the mylohyoid muscle. And this is something called cellulitis. So anytime you have swelling, it's an infection that involves facial planes. So Lutwig's angina is a cellulitis that involves the spaces down here. And then So you can get swelling here, and this then can actually cut off the your breathing. So these are dangerous. People can die with the Ludwig angina.
So cellulitis is like spreading the infection?
Yes, cellulitis is spreading the infection. So the infection goes down the facial planes. All right? So here's the patient here who has a Ludwig's angina. So they had to go in, and this is a long time ago. So they went in and opened this up so it would drain, and then this is how he healed. I mean, they wouldn't do it nowadays. They'd put tubes in there.
Wow.
Now here's cavernous sinus thrombosis. That is, if you on a maxillary tooth, it goes up into the brain through the up into the brain. Yeah, that's dangerous. You can die of that.
Surgery?
Huh?
Or is that how she actually looked? Or
That's how they looked before surgery.
What? How
Yeah.
do they not go before?
They, some people don't. Now, every once in a while you're reading that people die from a toothache.
Yeah.
That's often can be due to this. And osteomyelitis means a spread of infection through bone areas. Cellulitis is through soft tissue.
Soft tissue.
Osteomyelitis is spread of infection through bone. Now, here's one. This one I saw here at the school. Here's a girl that came in up in the clinic, and she had this bump on her right here. Had it for years. Okay? And she saw a physician, and they told her, well, you're going to have to live with it.
What?
Yeah. So you wouldn't want to live with that, would you?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it'd be a little different. The only one on the street that had one. Maybe you'd like that. You know, nowadays people do different things.
Yeah.
So anyway, nobody ever bothered to take an X-ray. So when I took an X-ray, I took X-ray of that area, what did I see? She has a non-vital tooth here. Okay? So you have a non-vital tooth right here. See that? Is it hard to see? Cut one of these lights out.
How you know it's unvital?
I check it with vilometer.
Oh, okay. I thought you
Yeah, that's
figured
good.
out from the radiology image.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
So,
Or I put ice on it.
got it.
so how do you tell that it's a non-vital tooth?
Yeah,
I
I
have to test the tooth.
Oh,
test it.
I test it with a
I thought you see
pulp
that and you
tester.
figured out it's vital
Yeah,
or not.
right. And I can't tell from there.
Oh.
But I do see, what do I do that does that all the time? I do see that this tooth has got broken off at one time.
Yeah.
See that
half
right
of
there?
it, yeah.
So I tested all these teeth, and then I knew this tooth was non-vital, so I knew this was either a dental granuloma or apical cyst, most likely apical cyst. So what's the treatment?
Extracted.
Endo.
Extracted or?
endo.
Yeah, so that we did an endo on it, and then what happened? It healed.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So she came in and kissed basically hugged and kissed the endodontist who did the endo on her. Yeah. Well, isn't that cute to have one of these things? Not everybody has one of those. See, this thing was draining down here too. See that?
Can you make a hole there too, or?
You know, you could drain. Yeah, it was draining out of there.
Oh, it was
You could actually stick a probe up into that. Yeah. So here's a dental granuloma then. A dental granuloma is chronic apical periodontitis, right?
Same thing.
It's dental granuloma, yeah.
It's chronic apical periodontitis. And you have that in your notes, back on the previous page. Page 1 to page 2. Look, chronic apical periodontitis is a dental granuloma.
Okay.
That means you got no, this is chronic, so there's no pain. So what's at the apex? There's a lot of inflammatory cells. The body is trying to wall it off with connective tissue, and this is the apex of this tooth, all right? Now, what do you have in the periodontal membrane? In the periodontal membrane, you have epithelial rests of Melissae. Remember that name? All right? Those are epithelial rests. What does epithelium like to do in inflammation? It likes to proliferate. So the epithelium starts to proliferate. What is the definition of a cyst?
How's epithelium?
It is a
Fluid filled.
It's a space that's lined by epithelium.
Mm-hmm.
So at any time then, this dental granuloma that we see here, right, can turn into a apical cyst. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it could stay a dental granuloma,
Mm-hmm.
or in other words, it could stay chronic apical periodontitis,
Mm-hmm.
but because we have the epithelium and there's inflammation there, that epithelium can proliferate. And so how it forms a cyst, I don't know. I don't think we understand that, all right? But it can form a cyst.
Okay.
Now, at any time, this dental granuloma can become acute. If the body can't keep this walled off, it's going to become acute. And then you're going to have swelling. Then we call it what?
Abscess.
Abscess. Are you getting the different feelings here now?
Yeah.
So apical cyst and radicular cyst are the same term. Radicular is an old term, apical cyst is a new term.
Okay.
Right? They're the same thing.
So, granuloma, is that like, is there tissue formed?
Yeah, granuloma just means tissue,
Okay.
connective tissue, inflammatory cells.
Uh-huh.
Right. But there's no epithelial lining.
Right.
Just connective tissues keep them walled up. So if I showed you that X-ray, here's a question I'd ask. I'd say, okay, I'm going to show you that X-ray, and I'd say you can see that they started root canal on this tooth. See that? Here's the temporary in here.
Yes.
See that?
Okay.
They've already started the root canal. So if I showed you this X-ray, and I said the tooth is non-vital, and if you remove that radiolucency, if you curetted it out and submitted it for microscopic examination, what are the two diagnoses? What are the two that could come back? What are those two? Name those.
Acute or chronic? No.
Well, you keep going. You were close. Again, no pain. Didn't have pain, didn't have swelling. You just removed, you went in and you did the endo and you curetted, for some reason you decided you curette that radiolucency out of there. So if you put that radiolucency in a microscope and you get your path report come back, what would be the two different diagnoses that you could have?
I mean, a granuloma?
Dental granuloma or chronic apical periodontitis, same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That would be one. What's the next one? I just told you a few minutes ago.
Abscess?
No, abscess is swelling. This can't be an abscess because they said there's no swelling.
It couldn't be
It can't be
acute.
no.
Hey, what?
Cellulitis doesn't even go with that.
No, 'cause there's no swelling.
Yeah, there's no swelling.
And you wouldn't see us, right?
But
Cellulitis
this
is a clinic.
This has a swelling to it, right?
This one does, no,
Oh.
this one has no swelling. This is chronic. Okay, but I said, and you had this on your quiz, didn't you?
I did that.
For acute, we have swelling?
No.
No.
swelling.
Acute, there's no. Oh wait, acute? Yeah, there's swelling.
Oh, there is?
I said no.
Acute could have swelling, not
Oh.
always, but it
Oh.
can.
It can have
It
swelling.
can.
Okay.
But on our note, it said no overt swelling.
On what?
On acute, it said no swelling.
Usually you don't have a lot of swelling, no, then it's
No
called an
swelling,
abscess.
okay.
You could have some. Okay, come on,
An abscess?
no, that's
It said
swelling.
no-
Oh,
That's
that's
swelling.
swelling, yeah.
abscess.
I just told you, what did I talk to you about the epithelium?
Oh,
I said there's epithelium in the epithelial rest of MLSA.
uh-huh.
Anytime they are in a area of inflammation, which this area is an area of inflammation,
Uh-huh.
all right?
Yeah.
Then that epithelium likes to proliferate.
Yeah.
So it forms a what?
Acute.
Cyst.
A cyst. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you did say
Oh, now it's coming.
that.
So what would
Yeah.
you call it? It'd be what? What type of cyst? It's on the next page, better be. Yes,
Radicular
there it is.
cyst?
Radicular cyst.
Radicular or periapical or apical cyst.
Okay.
Radicular is an old term.
Okay.
See the top of page 4 where we have all these different areas spread of periapical infection? I just showed you those on the x-ray. Because these are my slides and this is my handout, all right? But that's why it's faulting me.
Is that your actual handout?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, I thought
Oh.
Dr. Richards made that stuff.
You
This
should
change-
start charging.
I know I have to charge.
This year is her
This is
last
mine.
year?
Huh?
I heard this is her last year.
Who?
Dr. Richards.
No,
No?
no.
Got it. D2 told me.
She needs to find a husband first.
She has a husband.
No, she doesn't.
Oh. But she has a boys.
Yeah, I have to have a husband to have a boy.
Awesome.
How many kids does she have?
Pardon?
She has one boy, I think.
Oh, she only has one son.
She unfortunately, she's not.
One of them died.
Yeah, when that was when I was with her. I mean,
Yeah.
when I was around, and she was teaching. That was sad.
Yeah, he was little that he died.
Yeah, he was very little. I remember going to the funeral.
Yeah.
Was he like born and he was already in
No, he
school?
lived for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Oh.
He had a problem with his valve to the
Oh, part?
no, with the valve to liver or
Oh.
a duct. It was a duct.
Oh.
Problem. You know, sad. So, and that hurts. Anytime you lose a kid,
Yes.
that's hard on the family relationship. So, yeah, she hasn't been married for a few years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is her husband or ex-husband a dentist? Or?
No, he's a physical therapist.
Oh.
Nice guy, and he's a nice guy. Both of them are nice. Both of them are nice people. Yeah. You know, I wish she would get married again. It'd be nice if she would.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
You should try finding her someone, you guys.
Oh, no.
You guys get up your grade.
Oh. I'm a matchmaker.
Yeah.
My roommate, a boyfriend. No, sorry.
So, yeah, it was sad, really. And then she had another kid afterwards. This was her
Okay.
first kid.
Okay.
Oh.
And he's probably like
He's about 23 or something.
Mhm.
Nice kid,
23 years old.
something like that.
Wow.
He came to our clinic last quarter.
Really?
Yeah, he was Sabine's adult puppy exam patient.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a nice kid.
I didn't see
Real
him,
nice
so,
kid.
but
So
I heard.
she used to live, maybe I give you a bad time about her. She used to live next to me. She used to babysit my kids. I told you.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
How many kids do you have?
5.
Oh,
The rich get rich and the poor get kids. You know how that goes.
no, I have no idea.
So,
Five kids.
so back to this. So radicular cyst. You see what I'm making you think through? Now,
Yeah.
that shouldn't be a hard question, but when every time I ask that question on an exam in oral path, half the class missed it. And I don't understand what's so hard about that. Huh?
The radicular cyst?
Yeah, when I ask, give me 2 things that this cyst could be, this radiolucency could be on this non-vital tooth, that if you remove it and submit it for microscopic exam, give me 2 diagnoses.
But that was
50% of the
hard.
class could not answer that,
That was hard.
and you guys couldn't either. But I still gave you the answer even before. It's a dental granuloma or apical or radicular cyst. Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't get an apical cyst unless it's a dental granuloma first.
Right.
Right.
But the cyst is only because of
The epithelial lining.
right. That feel.
And you can't tell the difference on an x-ray between the two.
Oh, because it has to do with the tissue.
Because well, you can't. Yeah, you can't tell the difference. Sometimes a cyst will get larger, all right? But you really can't tell the difference. So if I showed you that radiograph, and I said the tooth is not vital, tell me what that radiolucency is, you're gonna have more than one answer. There can't be one answer.
Yeah, no.
And that's probably what's on your quiz. You had,
Oh yeah, it was that first one.
yeah, it was,
Exactly the one I got right? The first one?
right here.
Mandibular?
This was, no, that was probably, oh, no.
I think we put radicular.
You put
We
radicular.
all put, I think, radicular.
You all put
cyst.
radicular,
Yeah.
yeah. So
But
you
it
put it
could
on
be
the
also-
quiz, but you missed it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you
Okay.
answered there, but you didn't answer it here.
I think because.
Or you could have put chronic apical, and I
Yeah.
told you at the time,
Uh-huh.
chronic apical periodontitis would have been fine too. Either one of those, because you can't tell the difference. Now, an apical cyst will get larger. I've seen them this big around. Slowly they grow over a period of months and months, okay? They will actually get larger. Yeah.
Okay.
So here's another dental granuloma, and here, this shows you what it looks like on the end, or this could be a cyst. Usually probably this is a cyst. And here, look at this cyst. See that?
Where is that term?
That's a radicular cyst.
Where is it? I don't have it.
It's further down.
Further down.
Yeah.
And then once you do a root canal, see here's radiolucency. So once you do a root canal, this cyst will heal. And after, that's why when you have a root canal done, and you have a radiolucency,
Yeah.
the dentist brings you back in 6 months, 8 months to take a radiograph and make sure that radiolucency healed. Because now it can heal, because no longer do you have the focus of infection from inside of the tooth because you did a root canal. So now I have good vascularity at the end, so it can heal this area. But once a tooth became non-vital, you no longer have blood flowing up into the tooth, so you can't get rid of the source of infection.
So where it's radiolucent, is that so? So there's no bone there.
No bone, right?
And then instead there's a fluid in that
Yes,
area.
right.
Okay.
But a radicular cyst has fluid, but an apical dental granuloma does not. It's just
The
a bunch
tissue.
of chronic it's granulation tissue.
Right.
Yes.
And that's in a chronic apical.
Yeah, or acute
periodontitis.
apical periodontitis would be granulation tissue too.
Oh, okay.
Only has a lot of more acute inflammatory cells like neutrophils, where a chronic apical periodontitis would have more like lymphocytes, the chronic inflammatory cells. See, acute has neutrophils, chronic has lymphocytes. Could have neutrophils too.
Oh, I
It would
think
be more-
okay.
It would be more chronic inflammatory cells.
I see. So what you're saying is in the radiolucency, it could either be a cyst or it could be granulation tissue.
Right. Exactly. And if it's granulation tissue, it's a dental granuloma or chronic apical periodontitis. If it's a cyst,
Then it'll be a
radicular cyst, or better term is apical cyst, or periapical cyst. You got that?
Yeah.
Don't look so blank on your face.
Because
Oh,
I'm
it's-
looking for granule
it's-
something.
It's page 2. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh, that's the
It's
name
like
of
a-
the other name of the
It's,
chronic.
yeah,
Got
it's a
it.
different name for chronic.
Got it.
What?
Thank you.
Oh, it's just saying that dental granuloma is another name for chronic
Chronic
For
apical
chronic,
periodontitis.
apical periodontitis.
Yep, it's an older name, really.
Thank you.
We always change the names on you so you get confused. So now this is a radicular cyst. Look how big, I told you they can get big. So here's a non-vital tooth. So now look, on the histology, now if I showed you these two pictures and I said, give me a diagnosis, what diagnosis you gonna give me?
Radicular,
Why?
because of the big radiolucent.
Not only because of that, but what else from the histology?
It's on
Oh, we could see
apical.
It's lined by, can you
epithelium.
see my thing?
Yeah.
It's lined by epithelium. Here's the epithelial lining. See that?
Yeah.
And then it's filled with a bunch of material plus fluid. And then around the outside of the epithelium is connective tissue,
Okay.
keeping that, it's not just epithelium by itself, you got connective tissue on the outside of it. So when you look at the histology under radicular cyst, it says same as dental granula except for epithelial lining of a central cavity. Cavity is filled with fluid or semi-fluid and is lined by non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. And there's a dense connective tissue capsule around the outside that we see here, right? We see that, with infiltrate of chronic and acute inflammatory cells. It also has cholesterol clefts. See these things here? part of the degeneration process, Easter cholesterol clefts and hemosiderin. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the epithelial line. That's squamous cell epithelium.
Mm.
All right.
And so if this was dental granulation tissue, you wouldn't see that epithelial line
No,
on
you
the,
wouldn't see it.
on
Right.
the histology.
Right. You wouldn't. Right. Here's another couple of radicular cysts, and again, you can't tell the difference. Now, the last one on here is condensing osteitis. Now, what condensing osteitis is let's say you have a tooth that has some inflammation in the pulp, but not enough to kill the tooth. So it's like a chronic irritation. So what it does, instead of destroying bone and then have a radiolucency, it builds up bone. It's like a callus. So what do you get around the apex of the tooth? You get this dense radiopacity. See that?
Mm-hmm.
And often that is in young people. And the reason why young people, not old people?
More bone.
Not more bone.
More calcium.
No. What did I say about the opening of the pulps?
Oh,
The
more,
diameter of the pulp?
or they're greater.
They're bigger,
Yeah.
so you have better blood supply. So that
Okay.
tooth can stay vital longer, all right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Eventually, you may have to do a root canal on that, all right? So condensing osteitis is defined as increased bone density at the apex of a vital tooth, which has pulpitis. So that tooth has pulpitis, but could be reversible or irreversible pulpitis. Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what's confusing, you're going to see other radiolucencies like this that can be similar, all right? Let's see if we have another picture. No, that's the end of that, all right? So is there anything else on this handout?
No.
No. All right, so we got through that one.
So that condensing osteitis, is that sort of like a defense mechanism?
Yeah,
Against-
actually, it's a defense.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
is. It's
okay.
Now, eventually, you're probably going to have to do a root canal,
Uh-huh.
all right? Now, this next group is a little bit harder.
Jaw cysts.
Now, these aren't my notes. This one's not my notes. She's a nice gal, too, isn't she, Dr. Gandhi?
Gandhi, yeah.
From what I know, I really feel like both of them are really good people. Okay, so let's look at Jaw cysts.
Like an apple.
Yeah. Okay, what is a cyst? It's a pathological epithelial lining cavity. So a cyst has to be lined by epithelium. And then the central area contains fluid or semi-solid material, or a combination of both. That's the diagnosis of a cyst. Okay? So there's different types of cysts, two different groups. So you have odontogenic cysts, okay? Odontogenic cyst means a cyst that has something to do with a tooth. Odontogenic is a tooth, right? A cyst that came from a tooth. So is a radicular cyst an odontogenic cyst?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, right. Is a lateral periodontal cyst
No.
a odontogenic cyst?
Well, it's not coming from the tooth.
It's not coming from the tooth, so it's not an
Yeah.
odontogenic cyst.
Oh, so odontogenic cyst means that it's coming from the tooth?
Right. Yep. So a cyst has to have epithelium. So where does the epithelium come from? Remember I told you? Rest of Malaceae? Or it could come from reduced enamel epithelium. So that's the tooth when it forms, all right? Or it can come remnants of the dental lamina. You remember that from your dental histology.
Right.
Okay, now, so the other type of cysts are developmental cysts, or visual cysts. All right. And what are the parts of a cyst? You can have a central cavity, a lumen, all right, filled with fluid or semi-fluid, right? And then you have the lining, lined by stratified squamous epithelium.
What was the developmental cyst again?
A developmental one?
Yeah.
It's a cyst that's not connected to a tooth.
Oh, okay.
And they used to think it was trapped epithelium, but they don't believe that anymore. The lining, okay, the lining is squamous epithelium, and so you have a squamous epithelium. So epithelium could be keratinized or non-keratinized.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
So keratinized is probably stronger, or like a stronger barrier? For
Well,
this?
they're more aggressive. We'll talk about that. In fact,
Okay.
you answered that on one of your questions, on one of the quizzes, didn't you?
Over here?
On the quiz?
No?
Didn't you have that for an
Oh,
answer?
the odontogenic keratocyst?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So odontogenic keratocyst is a cyst that has keratin in the lining.
Mm. So
But
it's more
most cysts are
aggressive.
non-keratinized.
Mhm.
But odontogenic keratocyst is one that's lined.
Mm.
That makes sense?
Mhm.
Things starting to
Yeah,
come together.
yeah.
Now, a capsule around the epithelial lining is connective tissue, and it has inflammatory cells, blood cells, and other miscellaneous structures. All right? So, radiographic features, usually well-defined. A cyst is usually well-defined, where dental granuloma is kind of blends in. All right? So they can be unilocular, one space, or they can be multilocular. Now, you had a multilocular one on your pre-quiz. That incisive canal cyst look multilocular. How do you make a diagnosis? From the history, clinical manifestations sometimes have to do with the age, because some cysts are in younger people, some are in old. Can't always go by that. You look at the radiograph, but the only way you know for sure is a microscopic examination. Usual diagnostic sequence. What do? We discover a radiolucency on radiographs. We go in and we test the vitality first, right? Because we want to see if the tooth is non-vital. If it's non-vital, we have a what? If we have a radiolucency on the apex of the tooth. Sarah, what do we have?
Or extract.
No, that's what
Oh,
you
the
do.
name of it?
Yeah, what do we have? If we have a
Chronic
radiolucency,
or acute something periodontial. What
chronic
is
chronic apical periodontitis or dental granuloma, or
Yes. What else?
a radicular cyst.
Yeah, radius.
Right. So you test vitality. Sometimes you need more x-rays. Now, you also, when you have a radiolucency, all right, sometimes you want to extract. You want to go in with a needle and do a biopsy. You want to make sure that's not a hemangioma in bone. So that's why this says aspiration up there. And then you do a biopsy of it. Okay, here's a part of notice that we want to keep going. So we had this already, chronic apical periodontitis, right? Now we got periapical cyst, okay? Residual cyst. Residual cyst, is that in here, residual cyst? No. Residual, was that on the other one at all?
I think that was on our
We
one of
have
the.
two sides cyst. Yeah? I don't know.
I don't know whether
Really
you,
familiar though.
residual cyst, yeah. Residual cyst, if where you extract the tooth
Yeah.
and leave a radicular cyst behind, that becomes a residual cyst. You don't find those too often.
Why is that one not a radicular?
Yes, we have two
cyst
sides.
on that side.
On this side, because it's not right at the apex. It looks close, but it's not.
So for it to be radicular, it has to be.
It has to
like,
touch that
a
area.
touch.
Yep,
Okay.
has to be related to that tooth.
Okay.
But especially if all those teeth were vital, it's not related to it.
Okay.
So here's other residual cysts. Look at the one here on the right-hand side. You know, there, and all this would have a history of a tooth being extracted.
Yeah.
For the big one you mentioned, it's bone cyst, something? Simple bone cyst? Why this guy is not simple bone cyst?
Because a simple bone cyst unlikely. Simple bone cyst has that sclerotic border, and it often goes down. It's like scallop border.
Like,
scallop.
got it, okay.
Yeah, it goes up between the roots of the teeth.
Okay.
All right. So that's residual. Okay, now let's talk about dentigerous cyst. Okay, and that's the first thing on your notes.
Yes.
Here. Okay. So a dentigerous cyst. Okay, older name follicular cyst. Most common of all the odontogenic cysts are radicular cysts, all right? 20% of all epithelial line cysts of the jaw. So it's common. The etiology of it, it's due to the separation of the follicle around the crown of the tooth. So when the tooth forms, there's a follicle around the crown, right? So somehow that there's a separation there of that and the enamel of the crown, and you get a cyst in that area. So a dentigerous cyst is always between the crown of the tooth, and then this is the top of the cyst, this is the bottom, and where the side comes in is always at the DE junction. So if you showed me this cyst, well, if you showed me this radiographs, probably the first thing I would say is dentigerous cyst. But I'm also going to teach you when we lecture next week, when we have odontogenic lesions, it could be in a melloblastoma too. There's other things it could be. So a dentigerous cyst starts small, and then over time gets bigger and bigger. And most common area for dentigerous cyst is a impacted third molar. So you only get a dentigerous cyst from an impacted tooth. Does that make sense? Now,
Always?
Only. Yep, you can't, right. Now you can't, where is another common area besides the third molar for a dentigerous cyst? And it's in your notes, I bet.
Unerupted tooth?
Well, a dentigerous cyst is always in an unerupted tooth.
Oh, but
Mandibular.
Site, here it is. Other sites, maxillary canines. Okay, under sites, the undersite, maxillary canine and third molars, maxillary third molars and mandibular third molars, that's the three common areas. Rarely involves unerupted dentigerous teeth, usually permanent teeth.
mandibular, maxillary.
Radiographic features encloses the crown. When we're looking at this encloses the crown, right? Attached to the cemento enamel junction. Do you see this? See that? Now, unilocular. Is this unilocular or multilocular? And most of these are unilocular. Okay? And then so there's different radiographic variety. You can have the central variety like we see here. You can have the one that kind of goes out off the side. That's called a medial angle impacted one. And you can have a circumferential. That's around the tooth, the whole root and everything. You can see those ones. So let's look at some other ones. Here's a bilateral dentigerous cyst. And look at this one on the right-hand side. Look at this thing. Look how big that's gotten. See? But where does it go back to? Now, I've seen, and look, even the pressure is causing resorption of the other teeth. See that? But there's other possibilities for this too. And a melloblastoma would be another good possibility. Here's another dentigerous cyst. Look, this one here, look, going up around here. See that? Here's another one, impacted tooth. This looks aggressive. Usually they don't cause a lot of resorption like that. But these are examples of dentigerous teeth. So the treatment for it is you have to go in and you usually extract that tooth along with the cyst, and then you submit the cyst for microscopic examination. So here's something that's really important. Under treatment and prognosis, you enucleate and remove the unerupted tooth. In other words, enucleate means you go in and you carette it out. Okay? Large dentigerous cysts may be treated by marsupialization. You're saying, what is marsupialization? Marsupial, isn't that a animal in New Zealand or something, right? Well, marsupializations is, you don't, when you go back and look at a cyst, like, well, let's say a cyst like this one here. See this one here? Well, you're gonna have a hard time curating that because it's so big, all right? So what do? You open into it. From above, you stick something in so that space will stay open all the time. You open right into the radiolucency, but you keep it open. So what makes a cyst keep enlarging? Osmotic pressure. Things more go through from the outside through the epithelium than from the inside out through the epithelium. That's osmotic pressure. So when you relieve the pressure of one of these, open into it, what happens? The bone starts to grow, and so the cyst over months gets smaller. That's marsupialization. So now when it gets smaller, you can go curette it out. Does that make sense?
So you're opening it up and you're
you do what you can to leave an opening.
Oh,
you may make some type of some structure that will go down in it so that thing won't close over again.
Oh,
because you want it to stay open.
Mm-hmm.
Now they may have to go in there and use a bulb thing, with a hook on it, and rinse the food out all the time, keep it clean.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to go in a case like this. You're going to fracture his jaw. So you'd only do that on a large one.
Mm-hmm.
So
they hurting, painful, or not?
Not really. No.
What if people touch them? Let them go.
Because they're not painful. They don't know it. A lot of times you have these, and you only discover them on a routine X-ray.
If they don't treat it, what happens?
They get bigger and bigger, and you could break the jaw.
Got it.
Now, also prognosis is excellent. See that? Okay. Potential complications. This you should know. Because you have an epithelial lining, you could get a squamous cell carcinoma, and that can happen in the lining. You can have an ameloblastoma in the lining. These are things you need to remember to underline this. And you could have a mucoepidermoid carcinoma. That's from the mucous cells in that lining. Okay?
And but this is what it costs.
This is what it costs. That's why you get rid of it. Because those things could occur in it. It doesn't occur very often, but they can. All right? So you really need to underline that. Yeah. So why do you remove an interstitial cyst? Because those things can occur in it. I'm on page 2. Right down the bottom.
Yes, son.
You see it?
Yes.
It's we're going to get you Iranian notes. Here's some enlarged follicle around the crown upper of the tooth. However, the radial space is less than 3 or 4 diameters. It's sometimes just called a enlarged follicle, and I have this in there. Now here's this is an eruption cyst. Does she have that on the next page? Who didn't put that?
I don't think so.
Why don't they?
She has
Odontogenic.
Man, she should have. Eruption cyst is really important because sometimes before a tooth that erupts in the mouth, and you see this in young kids, what happens is that the follicle of the tooth, this is not a cyst, kind of opens up into the mouth, and so a kid comes in and you have a bump like this. Kid will come in and have this bump, but it's filled with liquid. It's part of the follicle. All right? Mm-hmm. And how do you treat this?
Just draining it out?
Drain it out. Cut it off, drain it out, stick an explorer in it, the fluid goes out, and that's it.
What was I going to say? Do you still have to take radiograph?
Pardon?
Do you still have to take a X-ray on it?
No, you wouldn't see anything on X-ray on this.
Oh, okay.
Because the tooth is just ready to come through the.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And these are common.
We just need to poke it?
That's right, she doesn't have that in the notes here.
Yeah.
Maybe she listed it somewhere else.
Or maybe that's for dental student. Because your notes, it's not like this for them. For them, it's huge.
Well,
You
For
teach
us.
them
but that's
dental?
important to see though. If you work in the dental office, you're gonna see this on kids. Okay, next is
I don't know.
so here's some more dentigerous eruption cysts. Primordial, we don't think those are, okay, here, now let's, primordial cysts people kind of got away from. So the next thing is the odontogenic keratocyst. So this is a cyst, any cyst, like a dentigerous cyst, a lateral periodontal cyst, they're lined by epithelium. Any cyst lined by an epithelium, if that lining is keratinized, then we call it odontogenic keratocyst. So keratin, so it can be filled with keratin. Now, sometimes when you remove these cysts, you cut open the cyst and it looks like stinky cottage cheese and it smells like that. That's the keratin. See? So a residular cyst could turn into a dentigerous cyst, into an odontogenic keratocyst. A dentigerous cyst could become a odontogenic keratocyst. So anytime you have keratin in a cyst, it changes its name from what it is to a odontogenic keratocyst. And why do we do that? Because they are more aggressive. So let's go through the nose. It makes up 3 to 11% of all odontogenic cysts. So it rises, it comes from the developmental odontogenic cyst, like it could come from that, like a apical cyst, or it may rise from the rest of the dental lamina. Clinical features: 60% of the cases are seen between 10 and 40, so it's younger people. Slight male predilection, we don't care about that. Most of them, and this is important, most of them are in the mandible, and it involves the posterior ramus of the mandible, like this one here. See? Now, if you check those teeth, would they be vital or non-vital?
Non-vital?
No, they'd be vital,
Why?
because the pulp's okay on all those teeth.
Even though it's like,
I know, it's
Yeah.
close to it,
Oh,
but it's
okay.
still vital.
okay.
Now, if it was non-vital, if you check one of those teeth and it was non-vital, then you're gonna think this radiolucency is what?
Auto. What am I forgetting? Radicular.
Yes, ridiculous,
Yeah.
right, yeah. Other features, it grows anterior-posterior direction from the midpoint, yeah, don't worry about it. Dentigerous cysts and radicular cysts are comparable size and are usually associated with bony expansion. So these things can have bony expansion. You can have multiple cysts. If you do, you can have something called a basal cell carcinoma. Now, for example, I'll give you a good example of this. I had a friend of mine who went through medical school when we were in college in La Sierra. He was a bathmate, and he's a physician now, a radiologist. So he called me about 2 months ago and said, "Oh, my grandson had a cyst removed in his mouth, and it was a keratocyst, odontogenic keratocyst." He said, "Man, does he have basal cell carcinoma?" And because he knew of the syndrome.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, they were checked out for it." I said, "Well, does he have more than one cyst?" No. Usually this type of syndrome has more than one cyst, but you can have basal cell carcinomas, bifid ribs. There's a whole bunch of different things for the syndrome. So he was worried about that. At least it's called a Gorlin syndrome. Gorlin was an oral pathologist who lectured here one time. Okay, now let's look at radiographic features. Well-defined. Is this well-defined? Most cysts are well-defined because they have an epithelial lining.
Okay.
All right?
Wait, so is that one well defined?
Yes.
Okay.
And smooth and often corrugated margins. Well, corrugated is the way it's up against the bone. And an erupted tooth is seen in 25 to 40% of these cases. So what could look like a dentigerous cyst could be an odontogenic keratocyst, because the dentigerous cyst is connected to an unerupted tooth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we go back here, Let's look at this one right here. Okay, well, wait. Look at this. That's not a good. Okay, this could be a dentigerous cyst or odontogenic keratocyst. Could be either one. Or it could be the melanoblastoma. Let's go back to where we were.
So the only way you can differentiate is
It's microscope.
The microscope.
Right. But often like once the oral surgeon sends the specimen puts it in formalin and sends it to a path lab, and then you have to slice the specimen, process on a glass slide. You usually know it's a keratocyst a lot of times because it's filled with keratin. Yeah. Okay, and so this here, look, here is epithelium, and on the surface is keratin. So this is odontogenic keratocyst. So what is the main thing you think about the keratocysts? They are aggressive. You want to get rid of them.
Okay.
They are aggressive, and that's got to be somewhere in the notes here.
Are aggressive.
They are aggressive. Tend to reoccur. See that down there on the bottom? 5 to 62% of the time. And here's why. Because the lining is not necessarily smooth like this. A lot of times the lining goes like this. And so you go to curette it out, and you don't get the little areas at the bottom of these little areas. And an odontogenic keratocyst, the epithelial lining is thin. It's friable. So a lot of times you leave some. You think you have it all, and you left epithelium. Anytime you leave some of the lining, it can form a new cyst. So often you'll go back after and keep them every year for several years to make sure you don't have recurrence. Some studies show that you have recurrence as high as 62%. All right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So remember, characteristics about odontogenic keratocyst: it has keratin, it is epithelial lining, and it has keratinized. They're aggressive. They can get very large. They're usually in the mandibular area. Okay, usually, most of them are. Mandibular posterior. And on young people. Those are the characteristics. Right? They can look like a dentigerous cyst. They can look like a melanoblastoma. Right? Here's another one. Look at, and I've seen some like this go all the way up the mandible. I keep pointing there. I'm so stupid.
Yeah.
See that, how that goes up? Look how far that goes.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't curette that out. And I know what I knew this patient when
How
he was
about
here.
the bottom? No, the top
Yeah.
one. The top one is another one. The top all the way up.
See, it goes all the way
No,
up here?
no, the other. Oh, that's
Well, the other. Well, let's talk about this one first. And often these are multi-loculated, okay? Now, I remember this patient. They need to get rid of it. How are they going to curette this all the way up the jaw? They can't. They went in, they opened an area right here. They made it so like a rubber dam went in there with so it stayed in there, kept it open, and over many months, that lesion got smaller, 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 and smaller. It just about disappeared. Right? Yep. Now this one, I don't know the history about this, but this is a odontogenic keratocyst.
Was the
Oh, wait, here's the one I'm talking about. They took an x-ray, and behind the x-ray, you saw this radiolucency here? So when they took the x-ray, look where it pushed the third molar, all the way down near the bottom,
Yeah.
all right?
Oh.
So here's where they opened into it, see that? They kept that open. After many months, look at this tooth. It's moving
up.
from down here back up to here, and now most of the radiolucency is gone. So then they could go in and take that out. But they couldn't take this out, they would break the guy's jaw. That's marsupialization. Here's a baseless nevus syndrome. Often they have multiple cysts, like here's a cyst, there's a cyst, there's a cyst, and they have basal cells on the skin. You don't have to know about that. Latoperiodontal cyst. And you guys all got that right on the test. Oh, gingival cyst of an adult. That one's not included in here, is it?
It is.
Oh yeah, it is.
Oh, it is. Okay. Let's do Let's do lateral periodontal cyst first. That's in the notes. Okay, often most of these are between lower incisors. I mean lower bicuspids. So where did the epithelium come from? You have to have epithelium you don't find in bone, usually. So where did the epithelium come from?
The melon.
PDL? PDL has a...
Probably.
Oh,
Yeah.
radio.
Okay.
And it should stay here. Development arises from rest of the dental lamina, all right? Or odontogenic, development of odontogenic
So is that what they're different? Residual cyst and this one are different.
What now?
Residual?
We don't have
Residual.
Residual.
Residual is where a tooth is extracted and left behind a radicular cyst.
Oh, after it's been
Now,
extracted.
in this case, if a tooth had been extracted, then that could be a residual cyst. But on this one, you don't have any teeth missing.
Okay, so that one just. Okay.
Right.
So the lateral means it's
Lateral is just
to one
between
of them?
two roots of
Between
bicuspids.
two, okay.
Right. And it's not a very common cyst, as it says here. 75 to 80% are in the mandibular bicuspid area, all right? And she says here, and it's true, represents intrabony counterpart of the gingival cyst of the adult, all right? So both are related. One's in bone, one's in soft tissue. Okay, so usually unilocular, well circumscribed, most cysts are, and lateral to the roots of vital teeth. And you want to make sure that these are vital. Now, sometimes you can have a multilocular one. That's called a botryoid one. And a botryoid means grape-like. And so you just go in and nucleate these out, and it takes care of them. All right? So these are two good examples of a lateral cyst. Here's one in the maxilla.
Is there inflammation with this?
No, very
No?
little. There's some,
Okay.
but it doesn't usually. These cysts don't never become acute with swelling.
Okay.
Right.
Lateral.
Here's another one. Here's another one. Guess what? Most likely, what did the dentist not do before he did 2 root canals?
Enucleate or
What they do or they don't do it.
What did he not do that he should have done? From his X-ray.
take an X-ray. Oh,
Yeah,
take an X-ray.
and if he had taken, well, he took an X-ray
Okay.
and he saw a radiolucency. Then he jumped in and did what?
Did the root canal.
He did 2 root canals.
Wow.
That probably didn't need to be done because they weren't related to this. If he had tested the vitality of the teeth, he would have found out both teeth are vital. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you only do a root canal if it's non-vital?
Right.
No, they
Why do
did.
you want to do a root canal on a vital too?
They did on a vital
To
one.
get
Mine
money.
last week. My tooth was vital. Hurting.
Why did you do a root canal?
They said if they feel it, next year you're gonna come back and then do the endo. Okay, right now do the endo.
It was vital, but it was irreversible vitality. It was irreversible.
Okay.
You have reversible pulpitis or irreversible. You had irreversible.
Okay.
Now, if you would have been longer with that pain,
Yes.
it would have been, it wouldn't have been vital after a while, another couple of months. Did the grad endo do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
She couldn't do it because I was jumping after 2 IA.
You were jumping?
Every time she put the
Yeah.
file there, I was
Yeah.
jumping out. So she said, go get the meds and then come back.
Get a what?
Meds, medication, drugs, medication, meds.
So
Because of the inflammation.
so
she
you
said,
took antibiotics.
No, corticosteroid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That help?
I know that.
Well, next time they did it, did that help?
Oh, it's gonna do it next Friday.
Well, she opened into it though.
Yeah, she opened.
Oh, so, okay.
Half of it is done.
Half of it's done.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Did they do it, your appointment's on Friday or Thursday?
Friday.
Well, you're gonna have a test next
I
time.
know. They didn't have any time anymore. I don't have. I have you at classes or clinic. I couldn't do anymore.
So how are you gonna have endo and have a root canal the same day?
I have to.
No, you don't.
They said you have to wait till December after finals. Too long till December.
Well, it is. You don't want to wait that long.
Yes.
All right. So, any questions about lateral cyst?
So if it's pulpitis and it's irreversible, it's still vital?
It could be for a while. If you put a vialometer on it, a pulp tester, sometimes it tests vital. But it's not. But it's going dead.
Oh.
I mean, you don't have a vital tooth one day and dead the next. It's a slow process.
Okay.
So it still may test vital. But if her tooth was reversible pulpitis, she had pulpitis.
Right.
She had a toothache.
Yeah.
So she had pulpitis.
Yes.
So the endodontist had to decide if she had reversible pulpitis or irreversible. All right?
Okay.
And here's how you tell. Did she put ice on your tooth? Or something cold?
Something cold, yes.
So if that pain, when you put ice on it or something cold, if that is more than about 10 seconds, 5 or 10 seconds, if that pain stays, it's irreversible. And you know you need a root canal.
But if it's reversible, the pain should go away,
Yeah, you put ice on it, take the ice off, pain goes away in 5 minutes.
and you don't need root canal.
Right. Now, did you have decay in that tooth?
I had amalgam, a small piece of amalgam.
Small piece of what?
Amalgam? That was it. Amalgam.
Amalgam?
Amalgam. From childhood.
Was it a deep filling?
No.
What tooth number?
31.
Okay, why did you probably need, was it sensitive to biting for several days or weeks?
That was hurting last year. It started. I told my dentist, since I had a sweet stuff,
Okay.
and he didn't take an x-ray. He said, it's okay, don't eat sweet stuff. I said, okay, it's okay. And then this year, I did it more and more pain, hurting.
Okay, well, I can tell you what the diagnosis was. What's the diagnosis?
That was abscess.
No, because you never had pain or swelling. But why did you have this pain?
Sensitivity? No.
Why? Why was it sensitive?
Amalgam piece? No.
The what?
The amalgam?
Amalgam. Sounds like you're saying gum. Amalgam.
Yes.
Amalgam. I keep thinking gum, chewing gum.
Amalgam.
No, you had a cracked tooth. You had a cracked tooth. You had a microscopic crack in your tooth. Ask your endodontist next time if she sees a crack.
Okay.
Ask her why, didn't she tell you why you needed a root canal?
I just asked, is there any way that we feel it instead of endo? She said, if we feel it, it's so close to the pulp, so next year you will come back and we do endo.
Right, but I mean, did you
No
ask
one
her
said.
why you were feeling it for a year? If you had a small amalgam in it, wasn't deep,
That was not deep.
right, well then, that shouldn't cause irreversible pulpitis. So your irreversible pulpitis was you probably had a cracked tooth, and that's really common, cracked tooth syndrome. So over a period of time, bacteria got into that crack and caused the pulpitis. You don't see it on x-ray.
No, they
And a lot of
didn't.
times, no, you won't see a crack. And a lot of times, sometimes what you do is you shine a light from a bright light from the side of the tooth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see the translucency go into the tooth, and all once the translucency stops, that's where the crack is. So that's how you diagnose. I'll bet you anything you got a cracked tooth. Otherwise, why did you need a root canal? Why did it die? Why did your tooth die?
They said,
Probably due to a cracked tooth.
Okay, so for reversible pulpitis, what is that exactly? So is it just
So it could be caused by decay. So if you have really deep decay, and it's causing some bacteria into the pulp, but it's still a young person, and you've got, and the tooth still can respond, and you take the decay out, put a filling, then the pain goes away. It's reversible. You don't need a root canal. But if you have so much, but if that decay gets deep, and you get inflammation in the pulp, you're not getting good blood supply up into that pulp, and it's going to die. It slowly dies. That's irreversible. So she had irreversible pulpitis. But what set off the irreversible pulpitis?
Cracked tooth.
And even, I asked her what tooth, but I was gonna tell her what tooth it was before I even asked her. I would have said a molar, because it's usually a molar. Was it a mandibular or a maxillary?
Mand. Yeah. My max is okay.
When,
Mand is
when
better.
we're, a lot of times we have, and what is the treatment for a cracked tooth? That is reversible, is what?
Filling?
Crown.
Not filling, you're gonna make it worse.
Huh.
A crown.
Crown.
Crown goes over the tooth and holds it together. Yeah, I mean, my wife had a first molar. Sensitive, the eyes couldn't chew on it for a long time. And a cracked tooth is, you chew on all right, and oh, ouch, man, that hurts. And then it goes away fast. That's,
Yeah, it goes away.
that's the symptoms of a cracked tooth. So she put it off for a year. Finally, she went to the endodontist, and then they do the root canal. Then after the root canal, she had to put a crown on it. Because after you do a root canal, the tooth is more brittle. And if you don't put a root canal, you could fracture that tooth right in half, especially if it's a molar. Now, on the anterior teeth, you can do a root canal. You don't have to put a crown on it afterwards. Right? So, and like in private practice, many of the crowns that I had to do often were due to cracked teeth. But when I first started practice, you know, that was 1960. That's before your parents were married, okay? We didn't know what cracked teeth were. You know, patients came in and had a tooth that hurt. We looked, took an X-ray, couldn't see anything. What do we do? Well, it looks all right. Come back when it gets worse. Well, finally they ended up with reversible pulpitis. Then you came in, and now you tapped on it, and now you had the lesion at the apex, and you had to do a root canal. But we didn't know the early diagnosis back then of a cracked tooth. But you take a cracked tooth, and if you put a bright light, you know, you take one of these little lights that have a little tiny area on it with a curve, things like this, has a light. You put it on the side of the tooth, you shine the light in there, and that light will go until where the crack is, and then that light will stop. And then you can see, then it's dark on the other side. It stops right where that crack is. Yeah. So cracked tooth syndrome is really, really common, and that's what she had. If you ask your endodontist, ask them, did you have a cracked tooth? And I'll bet you they'll say yes. Because there has to be a reason why they did a root canal. If you didn't have any caries, if you had a small filling, why did you need a root canal?
Oh, it had a carie under the, oh my god.
Well, it had a cavity.
Yeah, cavity.
A
Under
deep-
it.
Okay, well that could cause it too then,
Yeah.
if that was a big cavity. But you said it just had a small filling. So if you have a small filling, that doesn't usually mean you have decay.
I'll ask.
Yeah. But you could have had a deep, no, you could have had a deep filling put in years ago. Sometimes it takes years for a tooth to die. But you ended up having, for the last year, you had maybe you had reversible pulpitis, like when that first dentist saw you. So if you had decay under there, why didn't he remove the filling and put a filling in?
I didn't take an X-ray.
Well, usually on a filling, why didn't he take an X-ray?
I don't know. He didn't do it.
Why?
He just said it's sensitive.
Well, you knew it was sensitive. He didn't have to tell you that.
And we passed 1 year, and right now we have to do endo.
He didn't do the cracked tooth test? I mean,
No, he didn't do
He
anything.
didn't
I
shine
just
the
said
light?
when I eat something sweet, I feel pain. And then he said it's okay.
Oh, it wasn't okay.
Yeah, that was not okay.
But usually a cracked tooth will not be sensitive to sweets. It's sensitive to cold and chewing on it. But only when you hit it at a certain direction, because that microscopically separates that crack. And you get quick, sharp pain. There and gone. You know, it doesn't last.
Yeah.
So when they put ice on it, before they did the root canal, how long did the pain last?
Come and go.
For how long?
I don't know.
Well, you were the patient.
They put the pen on it, and
Yeah.
then you touch it, and then when you
Well, that was a
feel
pulp.
it.
That was a pulp tester.
Yeah.
So they went up how high on the pulp test? You don't know.
No, I don't know. What did they do?
Now, if you're up there on a Thursday, you ever have an endo done on a Thursday afternoon?
No, Friday morning.
Friday morning.
Yeah,
Good
we
night.
have exam.
My friend
today.
Dr. Renamoso is a good friend of mine. She's an endo instructor on some Thursday afternoons.
Oh,
Do you know her?
who is it?
Retamosa? Her daughter is a freshman dental student.
I think you were telling me about that. Yeah.
Because our schedule is so bad, we can't do anything. Can't go to the doctor, can't do anything. We're at school every day and then at the clinic afternoon. Yeah. So they just find the 8th morning for
Sure,
finish it.
Do you have class on Sundays?
No, but the school is closed on Sunday. And my doctor's at Orange County. I have to drive there and then come back here.
When I was a student here, we had class on Sundays also.
Wow.
You're lying.
No.
Awesome.
Why?
Did you have Memorial Day off?
No.
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 I don't think
Yes,
so.
you did.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Memorial Day?
Memorial Day,
What day?
May, end of
Oh.
May.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah, we
yes,
do.
yes. Yeah.
We never. Memorial Day, when I was a sophomore, I scheduled getting married that day. I had 3 finals and got married on the same day. Yes.
You're
Huh.
crazy. How? 3 finals and getting married on that same
3
day.
2-hour finals.
Awesome.
Was it, I mean, the wedding made up.
I don't remember the wedding, I just remember the finals. I was so tired. Am I supposed to say okay, or I do?
Sure. Oh man, that is crazy. I've never heard of anyone getting married after their final.
3 finals, all day long. Finals were all day long. Well, you scheduled the wedding thinking Memorial Day would be a holiday,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Wow. And then it wasn't.
And then it wasn't.
Did he come late?
No, it was in Santa Monica. I had no car. I didn't own a car.
Oh my
So the wedding was in Santa Monica.
Wow.
So somebody
drive.
gave me a ride in there, maybe my cousin or someone who was the best man. And then I borrowed the in-laws' car to go on a honeymoon. And it was on like a Thursday. No, what was it on? It wasn't Monday holiday back then.
What year did you
Anyway,
get married?
It was 1963, I think. But I
Oh,
had to
wow.
be back in school 2 days later. So we went up north, had no money, so it was a pup tent. So we went on a honeymoon in a pup tent, went camping for 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Aw. Wow, that's cool.
Cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, I've never heard of a story like that. It's like my first time ever hearing this.
Yeah.
Aw. Where did you guys go camping?
Where'd I go? I went up near Yosemite. So I had never been to Yosemite. So it was great. It was wonderful. Oh, it was.
Would they like do the fire
No,
on the rocks?
I think
no?
back then they did. I don't remember that. Or maybe they gave it up before then, because we didn't see it.
Okay.
But I
'Cause
didn't
know
have
it
a
was
car.
like back then where they used to do fire.
And when we got married,
Yeah.
we got a little apartment down here, just down the street down here. We had no car. So to get groceries, we had to ride the bike to the grocery store and back to get groceries.
Aw.
So you think you have it tough?
Right now, no.
Huh?
Wow, that's actually really cute. Riding your bike to get groceries
Yeah, it
with
was
a
great.
basket and
It was
everything.
great, yeah, a little basket, little basket on front.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
really cute. Aw,
And then after, into the summer,
yeah,
by then I had a car, I bought a car.
nice.
I wish I still had it, it was a 53 Chevy. Ah, I wish I still had that car.
Yeah.
I bought it used for $300. And only had 30,000 miles on it.
Wow.
All right, so you guys study this and we'll finish this next time.
Sounds good.
And you guys did pretty good today, except for
Yeah.
that.
For me,
Test. No,
I
I
didn't
did
do
bad on the first one.
I did bad on the
I'm not good at radiology and stuff.
the pre-quiz. I did
They are
really
all
bad.
look like each other.
I feel like after the lecture, I would have been able to do good.
Yeah.
So the pre-quiz, we did number 7 first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Heidi, you did the worst on the
Yeah.
first quiz.
They were.
All right, so,
Next
We'll
week
see
we
you,
have
we'll see you in
winter.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Now,
Yes.
oh, here's something.
14.
If you guys wanted to, you would have to let me know. But that